Meeting call to order, please. Please join me in the prayers. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me in allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Drinkwater.
Here.
Council Gitchia.
Here.
Council Janess.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Noon.
Here.
Council Robinson.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
Council Scott.
Here.
Council Yem.
Here.
Mayor Chow.
Here.
It's 11 present.
Any memorials, moment of silence? Councilor Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Elizabeth Beth Brazel, a resident of Lowell. Beth attended St. Michael's College, where she graduated with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. Beth continued her education and received a master's degree from the University of Buffalo, in addition to a master's degree in library science from Simmons College. Beth worked for over 20 years as a youth librarian, first at the Bedford Library and then at the Pollard Memorial Library in Lowell. Beth's work with the Pollard Library was much more than a job. She truly loved what she did for a living. Beth was always a very passionate advocate for the disabled in the city of Lowell. As a commissioner for the Lowell Disability Commission, serving as chairperson until her passing. The members of the Disability Commission wish to thank Beth for all her many years of service. She is predeceased by her older brother and best friend, Tom, survived by her sister, Kate, as well as many aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends. May she rest in peace. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber to all those who passed away since our last City Council meeting. We offer our condolences to all their families, relatives, and many friends. Thank you.
Any other memorials or moment of silence? Here now, Mr. Clerk, please dim the light for a moment of Docking Chamber in silence. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the chamber once again. This promised to be another informative meeting, and also welcome everyone who's watching us from home. We'll start the meeting with the mayor's business. 2.1 is communication, remote Zoom participation. Motion by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Leahy. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Your Honor,
Councilor
can
Leahy.
you, just one correction. Can you double check? There's new channels now, so it says channel 99. It might be channel 6 or 8 now, so. But we're at
Thank you
6.
for reminding us.
Yeah.
Mr. Manager, do we know which channel that we're on tonight?
I think it's 6. Council Mercia. Yeah.
Councilor Murcia.
Yeah. So
Channel
it just
6?
needs to be corrected for the next meeting, that's all.
Okay. So if people who are watching us on Channel 99 right now, they
No,
don't
they're on
know what
Channel
we're saying
6
right
now.
now, but if they're watching on Channel 6,
Probably watching the fight. They're probably watching the fights, but then again, who would know the difference?
Yeah. I think we're on channel 6 now.
thank you, councilors. As we start in every meeting, we want to recognize important individuals and organizations through our city that are doing great work to make sure that we have the quality of life in the city and in the community that we have. Tonight, I want to present a proclamation for the National Health Center Week to go to Lowell Community Health Center. And I'd like the two individuals please to come to the podium, Ms. Caroline Duong and Ms. Karen Poe. I will read the proclamation up here first, and then we'll open the floor to the council and you to speak. Whereas during National Community Health Center Week, we celebrate Lowell Community Health Center and the nation's 1,400 community health centers that comprise our nation's largest primary care network, serving 1 in every 15 people living in the U.S. Lowell Community Health Center provides high-quality, cost-effective, accessible, and comprehensive primary and preventative care, including integrated medical, oral, vision, behavioral health, school-based health services, HIV/AIDS services, substance use disorder treatment, and pharmacy services, regardless of insurance status or ability to pay. Whereas Lowell Community Health Center has worked to reduce health disparities and remove barriers to access, serving more than 33,000 patients and reaching over 50,000 people each year via all its services and community health education efforts throughout Greater Lowell. They are a regional center for equity center and culturally proficient workforce development, helping address the critical healthcare workforce shortage meaningfully and sustainably with the employment of more than 500 people, many of whom live in Lowell. Whereas National Health Center Week offers the opportunity to recognize Lowell Community Health Center, their dedicated staff, board members, and community partners for their vital role in shaping the future of Lowell's and America's healthcare systems. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Sakai Chow, on behalf of the entire City Council, are proud to present to you the proclamation tonight. Before I let both of you speak, I know it's an honor to have both of you here. If any members of the council have anything to say, I'll open the floor right now. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you for all the service that you provide for our community. I know my family benefit greatly from the center, and I really want to say thank you, and we appreciate all the hard work and services provided to our community. Thank you.
No other comments? Ms. Duong, you have to accept on behalf of the Lowell Community Health Center?
Yes, I am. So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and Manager Golden, thank you so much for having us here tonight to celebrate and recognize the National Health Center Week in the city of Lowell. My name is Caroline Young, and I'm the newly elected board chair at Lowell Community Health Center. And I'm being joined this evening by our CEO, Susan West-Levin, and Sheila Oach, who's our Chief Engagement and Equity Officer, as well as several other staff who dedicate themselves in service to our community. Thank you all for joining me. And thank you for this proclamation. As you've heard, we were founded 53 years ago, and our service to this community is unwavering. And we are grateful for your support throughout our history, but in particular during our COVID pandemic. So I want to share how our approach to healthcare makes Lowell Community Health Center unique and why it's so important to this city. And to do that, I have Karen Pugh here with us, one of our senior leaders, and her team is out in this community daily bringing our care model to life. So Karen is going to share a brief story of the impact her team's approach to care.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Pugh from the Lowell Community Health Center. It certainly takes a community to care for a community, so I want to thank the city and our partners for all that they do. Caring for our community is a true team effort. It's not only about coming in for your annual checkup or a sick visit, it's about changing lives. And that's exactly what our dedicated and passionate team of community outreach workers do every day. I have some of them here with me tonight. Recently, during a day of community outreach, Natalie, a community health worker, connected with a gentleman After a brief assessment, it was evident that he could benefit from more than just a referral to his primary care provider. We offered him a connection to free screening services that our team co-located at Life Connection Center and accompanied him on that visit. When he came to receive his test results, he confided that he had overdosed just the day before. He had gone to Lowell General Emergency Department, but left before being seen. He shared a desire to get clean and that he was using Suboxone that he had purchased on the street. Working from a patient-centered and of caring and support, our staff encouraged him to talk to Angel, a recovery coach. After a brief introduction and chat, Angel knew that he would be a great candidate for one of the health center's substance use service programs and connected him with Cassidy, a nurse case manager, and Disneldy, a care coordinator. After gathering his full medical and substance use history, Cassidy was able to schedule him for a same-day visit with Valerie, a nurse practitioner, who initiated office-based Suboxone treatment. But that's not where our team stops. We further connected him to ongoing services, including a referral to a licensed alcohol drug counselor for therapy. He continues to receive support and referrals to our community partners to address social service needs and his recovery, enhancing the chance for successes with his goals. Remarkably, before this intervention, he had been disconnected from primary care. Now we've reconnected him, and he's starting to address other chronic medical concerns and is working on overcoming barriers to get his license back. Our presence in the community, collaborating and co-locating with our partners, allows us to offer warm handoffs and to knowledgeable staff who are ready to meet patients at the right time, in the right place, where they're most comfortable, and to support them in their goals for care, treatment, and recovery. I'm so thankful for all that our staff do, and I'm thankful for the support of the city and all of our community partners. Thanks for having us here tonight.
Thank you both for being here, and right now I'd like to present this proclamation to both of you. If you would like to come inside the chamber, and we'll take photos with all the counselors. Just to remind everyone, both the councilors and the public, we're picking up the meeting from 2 weeks ago, and the last
Mr.
meeting
Mayor.
we had
Yeah.
a lot of unfinished business, including items on the public hearing,
Mr. Mayor,
which we will take at 7 o'clock for the public hearing. But before we get there, I know that I have one thing to take care of first, and then we'll go to Councilor Yam. You want to take a couple items out of order
yes,
before we continue with the public hearing at about 7 o'clock.
yes,
Next on the agenda, that's unfinished business right on the agenda right now, is the 3.1 order abandoned portion of Pratt Avenue. Mr. Clerk, you have an order for me to read? In the City Council, order to vacate, discontinue, and abandon certain in public interest, rights, and easements in a portion of Pratt Avenue in the City of Lowell. Any comments or questions by any of the council member? Mr. Clerk, anybody here to speak on this?
No, we had a public hearing on this 2 weeks ago, Your Honor, and nothing came. No indication in my office. It held in my office for 7 days, and it's ready to be approved.
Okay, need a motion to adopt by
Move
Councilor
approval.
Lucia, second by Councilor Robinson. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Counsel Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Councilor Yam?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I could make a motion to take the item 3.2/919 out of order because we have someone here in the chamber. If you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Motion by Councilor Yam to take a motion 3.2.9.19 out of order, and I appreciate that motion, that because the family was here last time and they waited from 6:30 till 10 p.m. To speak on this. Do we have a second on this one? Second by Councilor Rourke. It's the motion by myself to request city manager have the proper department investigate repairs and improvement to the public way on E Street. And Mr. Clerk, I believe this gentleman registered to speak last time. Would you please come forward?
Rodriguez?
Please state your name and your address again.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Chow and Councilman. My name is Philip Rodriguez. The reason why I'm here today is because I would like to have East Street, the short part of East Street, put on the paving list. I am a homeowner. I own condominium number 82 and 84, and that street is in bad condition. And even in the wintertime, we're the last ones to get plowed, even salted. And I usually normally would take that because it's a small street. But the street is in very bad condition, and I asked the city of Lowell to put it on the paving list, and hopefully we can get that resolved.
Thank you for being here to speak on this matter, and I went to look at the roads myself. It is in very, very bad condition, a lot of damage to the street, so thank you for being here tonight.
Yes.
If there are no other comments or questions by the council, Councilor Yam?
I was gonna, while I'm on the roll, move item out of order, if I may.
Could we take a vote on this first, and then we'll go
Yes,
to your...
all right, thank you, Mr.
Any
Mayor.
other comments in these motions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried.
Mr. Mayor.
Let me finish with Councilor Yam first. Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 weeks ago, we were so busy, we didn't have a chance to allow the manager to present some of the item that really urgent need the council vote on it. So if I may move item under the manager's business, that would be, I'm sorry, so
What numbers are those, Councilor Yam? I think Councilor Yam has the floor right now, councilors.
okay.
We'll allow him to finish. What line item numbers?
Where's the managers? Okay. Yes, 3.22, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
I don't know what's happening here.
3.23, Mr. Mayor. It's vote from city manager, so 3.23, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, the one that is of some urgency would be 3.2.4.1, which is a loan order for refunding bonds.
So motion
Which one? Which one? Can't see it on the agenda. Which one, though, again?
is confusing.
I know, we can't read it because all the numbers are kind of buried under the writing, so if you could just tell us the,
Refunding the bonds. Refunding the bonds.
Council, is if you were to look under 3.2.4, orders from the city manager, it's the first one under it, loan order on refunding bonds. The document, loan order is accompanying in the back. And the issue is because of the carryover. So that's where we had to, the clerk's office needed to increase another number.
Just real quick, in the City Council, loan order to ensure refunding bonds to refund all or any portion of the city's general obligation bonds outstanding as of the date of adoption of this order. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Councilor Gishia?
Through you, Mayor Chow, CFO Baldwin, can you just explain that we're getting higher rates because the market's up right now and that's all we're trying to do? But could you just explain so everyone understands what we're doing?
Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and that's an excellent question, and I'm happy to give a brief explanation. What's proposed before the City Council tonight is authorization for a refunding bond, which is essentially very much similar to refinancing a mortgage. And so the council did this in 2012, authorized a blanket loan order which gave authorization to issue refunding bonds for any bonds that were outstanding as of that date. However, now that time has elapsed, we have bonds that we have issued since then that are ripe for refunding. So we're able to take advantage of lower rates now than when we issued the bonds and achieve savings. There are two such outstanding bonds that we've identified that we'd like to refund in the coming weeks. We have a meeting before the Municipal Finance Oversight Board tomorrow. And so we'd ask the council to take consideration. This, unlike many loan orders, does not require a public hearing. It does not require the referendum period to be held in the clerk's office like other orders. It only requires a straight vote. So we do anticipate with this refunding to be able to save somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 over the term of the remaining bonds. We see this as a good opportunity, and we look for favorable vote from the council.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilor Gishia, move to approve, second by Councilors Yam. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr.
Councilor Yam, you had the floor earlier. Are you finished?
I just want to turn that to the manager. Any other urgent item that we need to that need council vote, so we can take it up and get it out of the way.
Manager, no other urgent matter? Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, you all set, Councilor Yam?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Robinson?
I'd like to make a motion to take motion 6.6 out of order. We have a registered speaker here, please.
The clerk says there's no registered speaker on this one. Is there anyone in the public to speak on, was it motion 6.6?
6.6, there's no registered?
No.
Make a motion to suspend the rules to allow the speaker, please, on motion 6.6.
Is the speaker here?
Yes.
Okay. Second by Councilor Mosier. Item 6.6 is a motion by Councilor Robinson, request city manager have proper department look into securing and installing dog waste stations throughout appropriate city green space locations. Second by Councilor Mercia. Mr. Clerk, the registered speakers here.
Hi.
Please state your name and your address.
Yes. Hi. My name is Kier Wu. I'm from 155 Humphrey Street in Lowell. A little bit about myself. I moved to Lowell in 2019, right before COVID. So I missed out all the fun activities, events in Lowell. So when the city started opening back up, I jumped right in to explore and learn more about the city and the community through volunteer work. So I helped clean up Lowell with the Lowell Little Crew. I helped box up meals with the Dwelling House of Hope. I also help with the chili night with the DIY and other events. So City of Lowell has a lot of opportunities, a lot of potentials. It's a beautiful city, it's a growing city. Just like any other cities, there's improvement for growth. And so I'm here to make a suggestion. I would like to have or see dog waste station installed throughout the city. What is a dog waste station? Just like it's what it sounds, it's a station where we have poop bags available for our neighbors and visitors when they come to the city. It's a dog waste station. It's a unit that can be installed at the poles throughout the city. So you want to know why? You might ask why. I'm sorry. Why not? Just like the book stations and artworks and painting all throughout Lowell, dog waste station will be a great addition. Dog waste station will help eliminate dog waste from laying around streets and parks. It will also help eliminate, from washing it to the water. It will help, when the rain falls, it push the waste to the water. So it will help with the water as well, keep our water clean. It also serves as a message that we care for our city and dogs. So how did dog poops, lay around our streets and parks anyway? Simply because people don't bring enough poop bags. They're just careless dog owners or walkers. They cannot afford poop bags, or they just simply forget. The cost of the station and the refill bags are not expensive. There's different type of units out there. There's one with the trash barrel. We're not looking for that. We're just looking for the sign that say dog waste station, clean up after your dogs, and the box where you have dog poop bags available. We're not looking for the trash barrel. The city's doing a great job with having trash barrels all throughout the city. I'm not going to read all this, but so the benefit of it, I did some homework. I called into the city hall and asked how many dogs are registered in Lowell. We have 798 dogs registered. So you can imagine how many dogs are not registered. So we have a lot. Even during the Lowell Folks Festivals, a lot of visitors visiting our city has dogs. So we want to have these units available to them in case they don't have enough poop bags. So why do we want to wait until we have poop problems to prevent it, to solve it? So that's why I'm here today. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Councilor Robinson?
I'd like to thank the speaker. I believe it was brought to my attention that I believe we already have some of these stations in the Riverwalk area. And as provided, some have the round receptacles underneath mounted to the post, others don't. So if we could look at any of the parks that are frequently, especially, over in Centerville, Gage, McPherson's, even the Reservoir, a lot of people walk dogs, and if it's something that we could install, I think it'd be a benefit to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by any of the councilors? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. That motion is passed. Congratulations to the speaker. Councilor Gishia?
Mr. Mayor, while we're still under suspension rules, could we take 6.5 out of order, please? Motion.
Okay, motion 6.5. I know just for the public, we're reaching 7 o'clock for the public hearing, but that will be a long discussion. Since we have some people here to speak on other shorter items, that's why we are taking some items out of order, just so that way individuals here to speak on short items won't be here the entire night. That one. Yeah. So motion 6.5 is a motion by Councilor Gishia. You're going to second that, Councilor? Just finish reading this first. Councilor Gishia requests city manager have the city solicitor provide the city council with a ruling on substantive changes to the ADU ordinance during hearing and whether or not the ADU ordinance should be re-advertised based on the changes. Second by Councilor Mercia. Mr. Clerk, I understand we have a few speakers on this item. There's no speak on this one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to the solicitor, could you outline what you sent us in the email earlier so then you don't have to answer this motion?
Mr. Solicitor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sure. So, given that soon after this there will be a continuation of the public hearing, there were some amendments that were already made to the ordinance, to the ADU ordinance. That will be open up for more amendments, by way of motion if that needs to happen. And then once the body is comfortable and there are no more amendments put forward, then at that point, per the city charter, the ordinance itself would have to be reposted, first reading, and then another public hearing on the matter.
Thank you.
You also have this Councilor Gishio, so I mean the solicitors provide an opinion. I don't think we need to take a vote on this. We're fine with that. So we're approaching 7 o'clock, 7:09 to be exact, and we're going to take up the general public hearing where we left off from the last meeting.
Mr. Mayor?
Let me just finish, Councilor Robinson. Where we left off from the last meeting was that we had the hearing from the public, and all of us had the opportunity to listen to each individuals to speak about their concern and so forth. And then we reached to the council, who began to make the amendments based on what they hear from the public, and to input and integrate with their own belief and their representation of their constituents in the neighborhood. They were all able, a few of the councils anyway, got so far as to provide amendments. And so we are in a good area where I'd like to continue that process, to have each councilor to provide an amendment to see and what they feel is best for the city. And based on the solicitor's recommendation, that will be referred and come back for a first reading and then a public hearing again. So with that said, I hope we can continue where we left off last time. And Councilor Robinson, you had your hands up.
Yeah, I'd like to, we all see this agenda. I'd like to make a motion to call for a special meeting with the full committee to make the amendments instead of doing this on the floor, because we're already backlogged 2 weeks. And again, if we're going to start doing amendment by amendment, I'd like to make the motion is to call for a special meeting specifically for the ADUs with the planning board and pretty much full committee as opposed to a subcommittee. So everyone there is a voting member.
So your motion is to continue the public hearing during a special meeting with the full body.
With the full committee, yes.
Okay. Do we have a second on this?
Yes.
Councilor Murcia?
Yes. Could I just speak on that, what Councilor Robinson just said? This is a city council meeting. I think that this isn't the place where we have like 2 weeks worth of agenda items, 80-something agenda items, and we're going to retweak an ordinance of this magnitude right here tonight. To me, it doesn't make any sense. We should set a special night aside to just do that. Is this going to be another night where we're going to have everybody speak and be fair to everybody, and then we're going to add an amendment here, an amendment there? And I would like the planning board to be involved with this process as well. I'm not a professional zoning expert or planning expert. I think there are people that spoke so eloquently that know more about this than I do. I'm not trying to, derange and put a gag order on the people that took the time to come here, but this is having a subcommittee meeting at a city council meeting, and I don't think it's the place to do this. And I don't even think that you can do this and not re-advertise, because 2 weeks ago we were supposed to either approve of it or retweak it, send it back. We didn't do that. If the vote would have went on, we would have had amendments and amendments and amendments, and then it would have probably passed, but the 10 o'clock rule kicked in and we left. That's why we're here now. I personally don't feel this is the place for this. We're going to be having 3 weeks worth of agendas in the next 2 weeks when we come back. I appreciate Councilor Robinson's motion. That's exactly the way it is. This isn't the place to retweak it. Pulling amendments out of the air and trying to, it's not being clear, it's not the proper venue for it. So I do agree with that. I do support his motion, yes.
I know other councilors want to speak, but this being a public hearing and it's being referred to a special full body meeting. It was advertised before. I just want to get the clerk's opinion on the protocol on this. Mr. Clerk?
Again, listening to the city solicitor's opinion that it's going to have to be re-advertised and there'll be another public hearing, this hearing has to end, right? It just can't continue to a special meeting. My recommendation is some type of, if it's the will of the body, some type of motion to refer it to a special meeting, a subcommittee,
Right.
as it is amended today.
Yes.
And then from that point, it can be developed, undeveloped, pre-developed, and then you put it back to the law office who's going to draft an inform that it's agreed upon at one point, if it ever is, and then it'll be go out for a first reading, and then it'll be for a second reading. We could put it up for a posted, advertised for a public hearing once again, where the public will be involved as a regular public meeting. Even though it would be probably the third public, it would be the first for that one.
Excuse me, so
That's just a suggestion.
for clarification, you're saying the motion I just made, we can, if the will of the body, we can send it to a special meeting of the full committee for
You could send it anywhere, Counselor. You
for the,
could send
but
it
for
to a
the purpose
subcommittee.
of amending it in that special meeting, correct?
Yeah, it could be developed again there. It
So,
could be-
so that's
it
why
could
I'm
be-
saying, that's what the motion on the floor is right now. I don't understand why you're looking for a recommendation from the clerk, because that's what the motion is currently on the floor.
I asked the mayor to speak on it because it was keeping this meeting here open, which it's got to end, you know? So you can refer it to a subcommittee, refer it to a special meeting, with the planning board.
So the motion on the floor is
It'd have to be-
refer it,
It'd have to be called by a counselor or, in accordance to our rules.
Mr. Mayor, can we move the motion,
I
please?
understand your motion, Councillor Robinson. We had other, before we take a vote on this, I'm going to allow the councillors that had their hands raised to speak. Councillor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We ended the last meeting in the middle of this discussion, and frankly, I don't know how many amendments councilors intend to bring forward tonight. I can't assume that this is going to take any particular length of time or not. It's an important discussion. We spent a significant length of time on at the last meeting. I say let's finish this discussion tonight, exhaust the amendments that councilors intend to bring forward. We've already exhausted a number of them that councilors have intended to bring forward, and this is the way it's supposed to work. If you look at the minutes of other communities that have debated this issue before, there are amendments made from the city council floor. It's how it works. It's how these things are passed. So I say we continue this discussion and end this discussion tonight, and I'm going to vote no on the motion to refer it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Grishy, has your hands up. Is this a motion to move, or you have something to speak on it first?
If we can move the motion, please.
Okay. Motion by Councillor Grishy. Well, we had a second by Councillor Mercier already anyway. But before I ask for a roll call, let me just clarify what the make of the motion. I'm okay because it doesn't change the purpose of this meeting. All we are doing is moving, just want to be clear in the motion that the special meeting that we'll schedule for, it is to take up amendments from each councillor by councillor. And at the end, it will go for a first reading and then advertise again for public hearing. It doesn't change what the solicitor recommended earlier. Is that correct, Councillor Robinson?
The motion on the floor is to take exactly what we're discussing here, where we left off last meeting. I'm calling for a special meeting to pick up exactly where we left off, where we're beginning to start now. So that way, it's not a logjam with this full agenda before us. So basically, take what we're beginning right now, it's a special meeting of the full committee, and we'll pick it up, vet it there with amendments or whatever has to happen with the full committee. We'll all have an equal vote with planning board, solicitor, all the people that need to be there at that point, and then we'll end up working the document at that special meeting, as opposed to clogging up this. We have tons of the people's business on this agenda, and to spend another 3 hours and kick all this down for 2 more weeks does not make sense.
Do you have a date in mind for this week, Councillor? Let's look at the right now so we can set a date so that way the clerk could advertise it.
Why don't we move the motion first before we set dates?
Yeah, I
We need to
mean,
move the motion before we set dates.
he called for a roll call vote already on this motion. So once we get the motion, then, I mean, the scheduling of it is I'm wide open. I don't care when that
For a
is.
special meeting for the council.
Okay.
Sure.
Roll
Roll call.
Before I take a roll call, Councilor Rook, I said earlier I want
Just again, procedure-wise, so if we don't, if the motion fails, we do our amendments tonight, and then we vote to send it back to the law department for a formal write-up. Again, and so then consider August 22nd, it gets posted for first reading, and then a public hearing will be 2 weeks later in September, I don't know if it's 12th, probably. Does that make sense?
So just for clarity, before you answer, Mr. Solicitor, so if the motion fail, if the motion on the floor fail, we are going to go through the amendments from each councilor tonight,
Yeah.
okay? So with that, Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Drinkwater.
No.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
No.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
No.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Yeas have it.
Good. Since we have a lot of people watching tonight, could we establish a day for a special meeting right now of you able? Mr. Clerk, do you have a schedule open?
I don't have a schedule with me. I don't have a calendar.
Let's just take 1 minute, Mr. Clerk.
You're looking for a Tuesday? Or you're
Thursday or Friday?
doing off Tuesday?
Doing off next Tuesday? You want to wait that long? You want to wait for a whole week, or you want to do Thursday, Friday?
What do you mean, what we gotta do? You know, I mean,
You want to do next Tuesday?
do Tuesday. 15th.
Would the full body agree to next Tuesday's meeting?
Next Tuesday
Off
is a
Tuesday?
certain people.
Councilor Drinkwater?
Mr. Mayor, I am out of town for work all of next week, and actually up until the next city council meeting.
Okay. This is very, very important to every single council, like everybody be present. Councilor Rook?
I would suggest 5 o'clock on August 22nd.
August, what's that?
August 22nd?
That's the regular meeting.
That's a regular meeting. We probably won't have enough time.
We're already delayed anyway, right? We're already delayed, so if councils can't be here on a scheduled off week, we do it on the 22nd and kick it out again for 2 weeks for our first reading and 2 weeks after for a public hearing. What's the difference now?
Yeah.
Is there a rush? Is there a rush for this?
Would everybody?
I think we're rushing it right now.
Yeah, we're
Let's
rushing.
Yeah, do it on an
hurry
off
to the
week.
vote. Let's
Okay.
do a survey or ask tomorrow. We'll come up with a date. It looks like it's going to be into September. What's
Yeah,
It's
but
only a
there's
few
no
more weeks,
rush.
so let's just
If
do it
Mr.
right,
Manager
do it in September.
agree, if Mr. Manager could poll the entire council tomorrow, and for this special meeting, which is a continuation of the public hearing now, I request every councilor to be present. Councilor Gishia?
Could I just ask one favor through you to the manager? Just not before a council. So any other date but before a council meeting, it would be fine for us, at least on my end.
Okay. Right. Thank you for everyone's patience, and Mr. Manager, you will poll every member of the council tomorrow, so 100% of councilors will be present. With that had taken care of and it's determined to be scheduled, we now move to the next item. These are the 3.2.2, a lot of funky number tonight. Communications from city manager. We'll start with the motion responses. We'll start with the motion response alphabet A, cyber security incident. And if the councilor who made this motion, please raise your hand because I didn't have a chance to look up who made this motion.
Mayor Chow, that was my motion.
Okay, Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, thank you for the response. I appreciate it, but I did find it a little light. Just off screen here, I have a letter that I received from Harvard Pilgrim about their data breach that happened, or their cyber incident, if we want to call it that happened pretty much identical timing of when the city's incident happened. And in that letter, it goes through what happened what potential data was exposed, what steps people can take to protect themselves. And that's kind of the information I was looking for to have in this motion response. You know, I know a lot of the data that we happen to have is public information anyway. You know, the voter rolls are public, the property rolls, that kind of stuff is all, public information. So that stuff being exposed, if you will, is not an issue. But really looking to try to have a list of saying, okay, employees, here's the kind of stuff that you might want to be concerned about. Taxpayers, here's the kind of stuff you might want to be concerned about. If we can get that information, because I think right now there's still a vacuum of information out there, and it's leading to a situation where if there's any kind of cyber situation for any employee, any resident, any business owner in the city, their first instinct is to kind of blame the city and to say, oh, this happened because of the city's data breach. And be that true or not, you know, nobody has any information to say otherwise. So the more information we can kind of distill down and get out in the hands of people, I think is important. And I don't think that this motion response went far enough. I'd like to, you know, hear what my colleagues think, but I would like to refer this back to you, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, we are tweaking that letter. Obviously, we did see what Harvard Pilgrim Health has sent out, so that letter should be going out in short order. So that letter has something, I think we're a little bit ahead of Harvard Pilgrim Health on this and letting folks know, but we will be sending that out. Would gladly take it back, but if that letter, I apologize, Councilor, it was coming in a little bit muffled on this end due to the number of people that were here, but it sounded like the letter that Harvard Pilgrim Health was something that you desire to have happen, and that should be happening in the next week, 2 weeks.
Okay, great. Yes, that was exactly what I was saying, that letter had a lot of more info about, you know, what potential data was exposed and what steps folks should be taking in light of that. So, you know, the more information we can provide to all our stakeholders in this, the better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments on this motion response? Hearing none, the next one is motion item B, speeding Christian Mount Pleasant Reservoir. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you, and again, we've seen that those flashing that let you know how fast you're going are pretty effective, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Scott?
Just a comment on the flashers. I don't know if there's any way we can look into additional units to purchase, the solar units especially that I keep seeing popping up in different towns. They're very effective, and I've heard that from feedback from residents as well. Thank you.
No other comments on this motion response. We now go to the alphabet C, Foot and Call Patrols, Back Central, St. John's Mobile Command. Who was the councilor? Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I have to say I do see a greatly increased effort over in this area. It is addressing some of this stuff, and I just think we're going to have to continue on. I think, you know, it's hit or miss based on the day, based on the hour, but I think overall, I think they're moving in a great direction with this, at least mitigating some of this issue for the businesses, residents, and that general area. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
No other comments? Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Councilor, for that. We do appreciate that because I know that all the councilors have been working hard, and the superintendent's been working very hard in this particular piece as well. But the text messages and having 11 additional eyes out there is always welcomed. I want to make sure that the council feels that way when there are things, when there are issues. Having those additional eyes out there, please, whether myself or Sean, the assistant city manager, please let us know, because I know that the superintendent appreciates it as well. But thank you very much for that, because the LPD has been, I think, doing a fabulous job in changing the way we've been doing business in that area. So thank you, Councilor.
And if I might just add something to consider, I noticed over at 7-Eleven on Bridge Street, I believe it's privately owned. I think 7-Eleven themselves bought it. But even the deployment of one of those mobile cameras in the parking lot, or if the owners would allow, or somewhere in that general vicinity. I saw the difference it made when they deployed that over at 7-Eleven. So, I mean, I think with this, it's anything that we can do to assist law enforcement, the outreach workers, the people that need the help over there, the business owners. So, I mean, I think everything and everything should be on the table when we start looking at how we continue this. Because I know this mobile command unit was only on loan till pretty much the 26th. It was they're tied up, so.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council, and before I hand it over to the superintendent as well, I just want to let the council know, I know that we sent this out, but once again, we're providing the health care that is appropriately needed. We were just there again on Friday over on the Summer Street area. Some people are partaking, some people are looking for, things and help and whatnot, and we are looking at this in a different way. I have to say that every counselor, and you know this, we've talked about this on a number of occasions where we're trying to just do this differently, and that provide health care or provide wound care is something that we're looking to do every single week, and maybe stepping that up in the future. But I'd like to ask the superintendent to discuss maybe some of the cameras. I know that they're ordering shortages and things of that nature, as well as Middlesex Sheriff's the van.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, councilors. So what you were referring to at 7-Eleven is called the Live View system. We are in the process of finishing a lease agreement for 2 of those units, which we had last year. We were held up by some of the documentation that was required for the city contract. We've gotten that, and we're hoping that that contract should be finalized within the next 2 weeks. And we'll be able to deploy those 2 units, hopefully in time for the Asian Water Fest, as well as additional, once that is done, we'll be able to use them and deploy them where we need to. So that's one aspect of it. And the loan of the sheriffs, they were gracious enough to allow us to use their van. And like every other agency, staffing is always an issue. And I'll be in touch with Mr. Katusian and Sheriff Katusian and try to get that back here. It does act well as a base of operations, and it gives great visibility for that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the chief, what would a setup, or do we currently have our own setup, something similar to what Sheriff Katusian's van mobile unit has? And would you be familiar with, if we don't, how costly is something like that?
It's cost prohibitive. We have had a mobile operations center in the past, and it's cost prohibitive, which is why with our memorandums of understanding with NEMLEC and the ability to partner with the Sheriff's Department, we're able to leverage those resources, and it would be more cost productive to use those resources than for the city to try to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. No other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Is that Councilor Janess?
It is.
Janess?
Thank you. I want to echo everything my colleague, Councilor Robinson, said. I think there has been a noticeable improvement with these steps that LPD has taken. So thank you to LPD and everyone that's been supportive of this. I think that the neighbors have noticed. They've reached out to me and told me they noticed almost right away that things had improved. So I appreciate that and hope we can continue it. I also did want to mention that a few weeks ago at the Back Central neighborhood meeting, we had some really good discussions. The superintendent was there, the manager was there, Assistant City Manager Machado, and a few other folks were there, and really got to hear from the neighbors firsthand about some of the challenges they're seeing and feeling. And so I think that was a good, productive step, and I hope we can maintain that relationship and continue to grow that moving forward. I think the neighborhood group has a lot to offer here, so I appreciate including them in this discussion. Thank you all very much.
Councilor Leahy, do you have your hands up? No. Okay. Councilor Gishia?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, with school about to start at the high school, if we can just pick it up with the homeless down there, because as people are dropping off their children down there, there's some issues that need to be taken care of or addressed before they open up. Thank you.
No other comments or questions? We move on to the next motion response, the alphabet D on Hadley Street repaving request. I don't have Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the response to this motion that I made, but in reality, what is the timeline to put Hadley Street on the paving list? the time that we will actually see it being paved? Do we have any idea about that? Elizabeth.
Through Mr. Manager to Ting.
Good evening. Yes, so we are working on the paving list, anticipating Hatley Street will be on the next paving list going out to bids, so we're looking at FY24, next year will be paved.
2024.
2024, correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Councilor Gishia?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Engineer Ting. I don't understand a lot of things in life, but we go out, we have an RSR done in the road rating system, and then we have to drive out to make sure the road rating system is right, and it has to come through the council. So when I look at these things, it should be a no-brainer. A road comes through, it's on here, you can say, okay, yeah, it's the next one up, but we have to drive out there, and I just don't understand, why are we paying for these if the council is the one saying, you need to go to this road and look at this or that? And I know it's not, it's been a long-standing tradition here in this city to do things like this. At the end of the day, we go out and we have these roads graded for a reason. And when they're graded for that reason, they should be the first ones up on line and done, so that we don't have to have a resident call us. It looks like we're doing them a favor, when in reality, this has a road rating, a rating of 37. And if you go down to Market Street in front of the Athenian Corner, from Central to Thorndike, that was paved probably 6 years ago. It's already stress cracked. We haven't put any sealants on it. We've done nothing to it. And if you look at that road, it has fallen apart. And, you know, it just comes down to, and I know that you're fairly new in this position, and there's a lot to make up, but when you're looking at this, we have to do better in either financing to you, because it's going to save us the long-term money, or the state needs to step up, because it's out of control, the potholes and stuff that are going on in the city, and we have the ratings in front of us. When was the last time an RSR was done in the city?
That's what I was going to mention. The RSR was done in 2020, and that's one of the reasons that when we have a motion request, we go out, physically go and check them to see has it deteriorated further or anything like that. And when you're absolutely right, I agree with you that the list should be more comprehensive, the list should be more planning, and that's what's underway. And thank you for all the councilor that we got more budget this year, and that's why we are in like 3-year and 5-year planning right now with paving lists, with the microsurfacing, with the other type of restorations. But I know some of the street that we worked before that will be on the list, but we are planning, try to come up with 3 years of, and try to bring that, how do we bring that RSR up in the general city-wise?
So 3 years ago, the RSR on this road was 37, which that's...
There is not 37. Right now it's 37. What happened is, every year there's a formula in there that we say, okay, most of the road, every year you're going to deduct about 2 points of it. So 3 years ago, it's probably around in the 40. So after 3 years, we typically, every year, deduct 2 points. So out of 3 years, about 6 points, so roughly about at 37. That's why we went out there and say, does it really reflect us as 37? Or is that sometime in wintertime, the potholes show up, then the roadways become worse than what's actually showing on the RSR number?
So what I would like to do, Mr. Mayor, is make a motion. And the motion would read that I would like a list of all the roads that were rated less than this road that are still on the paving list, and the ones that were actually treated that were less than this. Because I'm sure that this list is long, and here we are, we're moving things around, and Councilor Mercia, I agree with you. These things shouldn't happen. So if there's even more on the lower list, and if we're grabbing things that are just higher than it to get done because of high travel, obviously, and there's other things to it, but this list has to be taken care of. This road, just looking at the picture, has never been crack sealed in the history of the road, and the road's probably older than the manager.
Probably not.
And that's just, to me, I look at it and go, wow. And I know you're doing a good job at trying to get the crack sealing together, and I'll make more comments on the next motion. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you just summarize that motion just for the council to vote on? The second.
There was no second on it. There was
Yeah, but just to clarify,
list of all roads rated less than 37 that are still present on the list.
Second by Councillor Scott. Any other comments or questions on this one? Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Councils, I think it's very important to realize over the past few years, and I believe that the engineer will know these numbers, but in an approximate manner, we've been spending $4 million, $3 million, $9 million, and now into an $11 million budgeting. We're also changing the process by 1 year, going to 3-year contracts. So this is what I believe our engineer is talking about when we're doing our appropriate planning over the next 3 to 5 years. But this council has made this a major priority. Therefore, in the last 2 years, we're putting approximately $9 million into the roadway. And with the latest budget that we just passed, there's $11 million in this roadway. So this planning, which I hope would be done sooner rather than later, and I think it goes right into what you were talking about with the RSR and finding out where we're at. But I think it's just important to note that we've been starving our roads for resources, but this council has moved in a different direction.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any other comments on that motion response? Hearing none. We got the motion was seconded by Councillor Scott. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now go to the next motion response on fiscal year 24, crack seal and fog seal list. If you made this motion, please raise your hand if you want to speak. I don't have the name who made this motion. Councillor Gishia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, what took 3 months for this contract to get signed? So it says in here, it came in, the process started in April and didn't finish up until July. What takes so long for contracts to go through? Is it the bidding process took that long, or was it already the bidding process done in April and it just took that long to execute?
It's bidded already. It's bidded, and the contract process have selected on contractor has been selected on April 13.
So yeah, so it was already bidden and out. It took 3 months to go through a process that should take 2 weeks at best. And I know, Mr. Manager, you said you were going to work on this and try to get it smoother and because right now we've been promised on this council about line painting was going to be done by mid-August, and I haven't seen any movement yet. So I'm wondering what mysterious pill is going to be spilled into the road and it's all going to get done. But as we look at these contracts, and we see all of these issues come up every week, Mr. Mayor, we all open our packet and see some resident's car damaged from a pothole or some other claim. If we lower those claims, we can actually take those funds that we're using in the law department, in the clerk's office, and everybody else's resources and actually use them for what they're designed for. And I think the manager has worked on this, but the contract piece is really killing me to see, because the language, as the engineer will tell you, and all the bonds and everything else have to be presented at bidding time. Insurance, everything has to be presented at bidding time. So I just don't understand how it's taking 3 months to get these things executed when we have a real need in the city to get these things prepared. And we're still getting, I think somewhere on here there's, I think it might be Councilor Noon who has something about potholes in the Highlands, and we're in July. And we're using our resources, obviously, in other areas, picking up after the homeless and everything else that we do. But at some point, if we maintain these roads and we give the engineer the resources, we can get this taken care of for relatively short money in the long run.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, one of the issues we're finding out with contracts, and this is why we're going from 1-year contracts to 3-year contracts. There's technical deficiencies that occasionally will come back from the people who are bidding. A corporate officer, for instance, if somebody signs this contract that is not a corporate officer, that causes one of our major pushbacks. Why that happens, that's pretty much on our contractors that are outside. At times, we're trying to chase them for even insurance packages. Everything that you're saying is correct, but that's why we're going to go from that 1-year contract to a 3-year contract. In regards to the line painting, we're simply waiting in line at this point, simply due to the weather. I mean, July's was a pretty wet month, and we haven't had that ability to get the the contractors out there painting. We're just in line. I'm hoping it's going to be done by the end of August, but I can't say that would be true. That on top of this, we are once again, I think what is going to solve some of these issues is going into that 3-year contract. Many of the contracts that have been up in the engineer's office, many of the contracts that have been in the legal department, I know that our city solicitor can say this as well. For whatever reason, in years past, we were doing 1-year contracts at all time, which we're getting away from that. As every contract that's been going out is going to 3-year contracts. So I'm hoping that will be better in future months.
I was the one at the council that brought up go to 3-year contracts. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to at the bid opening, the stuff has to be there. And if someone doesn't have insurance at the bid opening, it gets thrown out and the second bidder comes in. Normally we don't wait this long. And it just seems like we're always waiting. And then we're scheduling line painting in August rather than April when if it does get kicked back, we're going to have these things done. These crosswalks are awful. If you go to Hadley, you try to walk across Middlesex Street, you can't see anything at night. And these kids are skateboarding. And there's many other places that everybody in here did. If we have a contract, we should put an end date. If it's not done by then, they get fined a certain amount until it gets done. There has to be a way to hold people accountable. I don't care about the weather. Everybody knows the weather's here. They have to work more. And that's part of the contracts everywhere. You know, I had every piece where I work line painted. It's rained. We worked around it and got it done. But they have to get some of these. We had no problem with the Folk Fest getting that done. And that's downtown. So I know we did it in-house. But we have to do some of these high traffic areas like around the schools. They need to get done. Some of these heavy areas, like you go to Bridge Street, you can't walk across. You go out, I just was doing out in Belvedere, right out Andover Street. Someone's going to get killed over at Douglas. They fly down that road, they don't slow down. It's just, in the crosswalks hopefully is something that we can get done long before the end of August. I'm hoping that we can get the contractor here, but
Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer that question. It is not under, that particular one does not come out from engineering's office, so.
give me the contractor's number, I'll take care of it tomorrow for you.
I don't even know who the contractor is. It's not coming from,
Is that through DPD?
yeah.
The line painting? Mr. Manager, who's got the contract for the line painting? Is it DPD or traffic?
Ms. Altman.
I do and I've been calling them every other day for the past 4 weeks.
Who's the contractor?
K5.
And did they guarantee you that was going to be done by August?
No, they did not guarantee it. The end of the contract is the end of the year, end of the calendar year. We've reordered everything now, so as soon as they give me a date, we're going out to the schools. We had it, planned in a certain progression, and now that plan has changed, and we're going to hit the schools. We aren't going on school property, but all the roads around the schools first, and then we'll go back and do everything else. But we did reorder everything. We're just waiting for a date.
So who wrote the contract? Was it DPD? Was it engineering? Was it you guys, traffic?
I did with.
I guess my question is, in that contract, does it say they can't put it down if the pavement is under a certain temperature? Because you said to the end of the year, so I'm worried about December 15th, 12 degrees out, and someone's out painting lines.
It's a standard specifications for the line painting, the temperature and the moisture levels. So they have to comply by that. We ended the contract at the end of the year.
We are not protecting our pedestrians, and I know it's not your fault, but when you look at this, we are not protecting. We have to move to an April date for all line painting, so if something pushes off, you still have good temperatures so this stuff sticks. Because I get these calls, and I don't know about the rest of the council. I see some of them shake their head and other ones say, but if you drive down, even outside of City Hall, we talked about the stuff out here, it's not done. So I don't care about the contract. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't even care about what you're telling me about rain. It means nothing to me. I need a service. So if the water department decides they don't want to come to work tomorrow and there's no water, what do I do? Stand there and look around? And it's the same thing with this. This is something that means a lot to people and the pedestrian traffic in the city, and I'll leave it with that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we considered for a contingency if worst case situation? I mean, the weather's been horrible. I agree, and obviously it's challenging getting the contractor in. Have we considered? I know we've done projects in the past like this. Maybe pulling public works guys together and just kind of breaking out. I don't know how many line painting machines we have, but even if we just had the focus to get the kids across the streets to schools to start, and then work with the rest of it, but for a contingency at least, because I mean, before we know it, the kids will be at school. And I know, perfect example is you drive by it, Bridge Street, end of the Robinson Hill, like that's a high pedestrian crowd, and I'm sure there's probably a few in every district. So for a contingency, if we could get the DPW and whoever else maybe to work together to help us, bail us out if that's the case. Thanks.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. We do have a team of folks over there in the line painting, and they're always ready, willing, and able. They were the ones that did the downtown, obviously, L's and T's and things of that nature. So that is a contingency plan, but I'm hoping that we're not going to have that. Once this company comes in, they're going to be done in a matter of
Days.
2 weeks
Yeah.
outside.
So the entire city would be done in a matter of 2 weeks, once again, given weather. This has been the rainiest that I think we've had in quite some time. So the residents of the city should know this. We've been on top of this. Liz and I have been talking about this for quite some time, and we're just trying to get this completed. But the weather does play a part.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. There's no other comments or questions on this motion response?
I just want to add one more thing about schools crosswalk. I just want to mention that there's 8 schools that under ADA sidewalk contract right now. Those crosswalk is part of those contract. Those will be striped toward the end of this week or next week, weather dependent. So they'll be done before the school start.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. No other comments. The next motion response is the alphabet F. Welcome to Centerville sign. Councilor Robinson.
I just want to say thank you to the Parks Department. The Greater Lowell Volk been amazing. I mean, from the reconstruction and configuration of the sign, to the painting of the sign, to the kids that came down and planted the flowers. I think we get a lot of positive feedback in the neighborhood. People are loving it, and I'm hoping that we can continue to work with Case and liven up that area a little bit more for the neighborhood. I think it's coming out great, and I just like to say thank you for everyone that made it happen.
Councilor Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It isn't all doom and gloom. This is a wonderful, wonderful motion. It's a wonderful partnership between the Greater Lowell Regional Technical High School and the city of Lowell to have that beautiful sign in Centerville at that particular location that everybody sees it when they go by, constructed by the Construction and Carpentry Program at the Volk School, Transitional Occupation Program. That's wonderful. I know the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group members, they're very excited about that. It's a beautification project that we're very proud to see. And that's what this city is all about, different partnerships. That's a fine example of a great working system together. So I want to say congratulations to everybody that beautified our city. Thank you.
No other comments on motion response. We now go to the next motion response, the alphabet G. Sidewalk repairs. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. So we had spoke on this, and I appreciate the update on what we did. And since the engineer is here, could we just get an update? What I was looking for is what we just did on University Ave. So I don't know how long of a project, I don't know how far that went, if that was a half mile or a mile or whatever.
That went from, Riverside to the town line.
Right. So that's what I'm looking to do is
Mhm.
get Andover Street repaired all the way down. So I
So-
didn't know how long that is. Is that about a mile from Andover Street
I
down
don't
to-
remember on top of my head. I apologize. I did a quick study on that. On Andover Street, there is actually a concept of training planning right now of potentially redesigning Andover
Right.
Street. So that's including the sidewalks, the bike path, and all the stuff. Narrow down the street. But that is still in the planning process.
Right.
We will potentially, if that go through, we will potentially do the sidewalk at that time.
Okay, but that's a long time. So if we could just get another update on what we could do for repairs that are dangerous. So
We could
there's
definitely-
sidewalks that are in really desperate need of repair. So if I can get an update on that, that'd be
Absolutely.
great.
So we are in the process of potentially looking at another ADA ramps and sidewalk, miscellaneous sidewalk repair. So we will definitely able to, probably not the entire length of Andover Street. We probably can look at location that is not ADA compliant, trip hazards that have high pedestrian volumes at the time, and we'll put those on the list. That's what we're working on right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Murcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Ting, let me ask you, do we ever in this city take certain sections of bad sidewalk and just focus on that certain section? I know that I've been going around in the neighborhood of Andover Street, and I just want to say that there's one particular section that you could not even wheel a baby carriage over it. It is that bad, and I'm not exaggerating. It seems like for years, trees uprooted the sidewalk through the roots, and it's just, if someone is jogging on that sidewalk, they're going to fall and hurt themselves. There's an accident waiting to happen. So I don't know if, and I look, and it's not like that all the way down, but if we could just take a section of that out and redo it, it's really horrendous. And I don't want you to take my word for it. I don't have the exact number. I think it's like 576, something like that. If you could ever see it, it's terrible. So I'll call you, Mr. Manager, and I'll give you the address. Terrible. But on either side of that, it's not too bad. So nobody's complaining. And nobody's complaining to me. I just happened to be walking and almost killed myself. And I took exception with the fact that I could have broke my leg, but that's all right. But
Manager?
anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, that is not the intention. We don't want you breaking your leg. But we are looking at, lack of better terminology, a house doctor, where we're going to have money set aside to hit these panels as a, in and around the city that has this type of issue.
It wasn't cement, Mr. Manager. It was regular hot top.
Regular hot top.
Yes.
We could do cement or hot
We can
top.
do cement hot top, and even some of the, if it's a small section of asphalt, we can have DPW Street Department do it as well. So we have multiple venue of doing that.
And some of the other issues that we have, especially, and I'm thinking of Andover Street and other streets throughout the Highlands and whatnot that we visited, is that we have some pretty mature trees that are really ripping up the sidewalk in that area. That's right. So there's I do anticipate, Councilor, that we probably will get this house doctor going, right? And I can envision where everything is in good order, and then when we get to the tree that nobody wants to see taken down, we're going to have to figure something out.
Sure, thank you.
Councilor Kishia?
Just while we're under the ADA ramps, through you to Engineer Ting, can you go over to St. Anthony's and back Central Street? Somebody had paved over one of the detection pads. So you got half of it's paved, you got half of the detectable pad over there, and across the street, the other one's broken. So if you're, the ADA compliance piece, you're going to trip and fall. And also, right at that corner, I think it's of Lyons, there's a gas cap over there that is just blown out into a pothole, and you just hit it. So that little piece of an area right there, if you have somebody in town that's doing those ADA detectable pads, you may want to go look at that because they have a lot of traffic there during the church time. So
this is where, St. Anthony?
St. Anthony's, it's over in back Central Street.
Back Central Street, okay.
And I only know because I
Thank
went
you.
to a meeting there the other day, and it wasn't church.
Okay, you all set, Council Gishia? Council Scott?
Yeah, I would actually just add, it was actually Floyd Street that the gas cap is at the corner. And those, Floyd Street, Floyd and Central is where the gas cap is. And then the, I don't know the word for them, the sensory pads or whatever you want to call them, it's actually, a lot of them are actually degraded in that area around Central Street. And I would just ask about the sidewalks. I mean, is there a plan underway right now to review which ones are most in need of repair? I know we're talking about Andover Street, but I know Lawrence Street is very bad, Gorham Street. So just make sure those are added in there too. Thank you.
Any other comments on this motion response? Hearing none, we now move on to the next motion response, the alphabet H, on hydroelectricity. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. Is there a way sometime there will be a private-public partnership between the City of Lowell and the Hydro Patriot? Because I think it's really, I'm just thinking out loud, so if it's possible.
Ms. Ting?
I don't have answer for that. It is privately owned. I mean, we can approach them to see would they partner with city.
Okay.
We can try that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that how well that will go, as that is a electrics for them.
Yeah. Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, that particular boot hydro up by the university, that is privately owned, and we've found out through some additional work that I did previously that the canals, there's not at this point in time, there's not a big ability to make any money there. And that's where the private companies would particularly come in because of the flow. So that is something that is on our radar to hopefully do that in the future. But I'm not so sure from a hydro standpoint that those canals, they're actually decommissioned some of those, some of that hydro power that was there because they, quite frankly, they got old and they just didn't replace them. It is an idea that I think would be a future idea, and it's something that I did speak with Ms. Moses about,
Right.
and I believe she even believed it's something that we could continue to look at.
Right.
However, it's just the technology in that small scale just isn't there yet.
Thank you. And follow-up question, quick question. The report say they're generating 20.2 megawatt of electricity, and where the electricity is being used for? Is that for particular, or is it privately? Just
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. They sell that right into the grid. That's, I know that there were other bigger partners in the area looking to get a little bit cleaner. They were trying to buy some of the credits, but they sell that directly into, it's called ISO New England, which deals with all the power throughout the area.
You also, Councilor Yam?
Just final comment, because the reason I brought the motion, I've read about other cities and throughout the country. Some don't even have a canal. They create a canal and they use it to move the turbine to create electricity. So I said to myself, here we are, we have miles of canal. We could look into, like you mentioned, maybe just on the radar down the road to be able to generate electricity in addition to solar panel that the city already put up on different buildings. That's just something that we can look into for future. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Those raceways, council, that we once had, those turbines are just, they're too expensive to replace at this time. So that's something that we would be looking to do in the future because if it was financially feasible or benefiting. It's definitely, well, we were raised on the canals, so this is definitely something that will, I think at some point in time, pricing will keep up.
Right.
We'll come back, and it's something we could look at.
Right. The energy department also has some programs, and maybe look at that so we can get grants to do a feasibility study of possibility of using the canal to produce hydroelectricity. So that's what I've read in the report. Thank you.
Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, if I may ask to suspend the rule, taking a couple vote out of orders here. We have a representative of an organization here. The taking 3.2.3.4, 3.2.3.5. Those out of order is a vote is from the manager.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So just to have continuity here, we just completed the discussion on hydroelectricity, and now we have a motion by Councillor Nguyen to take 2 votes out of order, 3.2.3.4, 3.2.3.5 out of order, second by Councillor Robinson.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay to the maker of the motion, can we please include 3.2.3.6 as well, with the election coming up?
That is fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, the maker of the motion.
Yeah, may I, suggestion, Councillor?
Why don't we bundle?
3.2.3.1 to...
As well as 4.1, 4.2. There'll be 10 votes altogether, and whoever wants to speak on any one of them, let it happen.
I second it.
Okay. So these are the votes, because tonight there are a lot of digits, a lot of dots between each number, just for clarity. So the councillors wishes to bundle all the votes, which is beginning with 3.2.3.1, all the way through.
Yep. To.
Was it?
To 3.
Is that 3.2?
All 8 of those, as well as.
Okay. So again, just for clarity, Councillor, so beginning with 3.2.3.1 all the way through 3.2.3.8. And I'm going just to read these line items.
And 4.1, 4.2, those are the new ones, the new votes.
Okay. The other one is 4. Let me see. Okay, you point that out. Okay, you're pulling out the 3.2.3.8. That's pulled out, correct? Okay. And were there some other, with 2 more votes that you want to bundle into this, right, Council?
There's 4.1, 4.2. Those are 2 votes from this week. This week, it's the K-9 grant and the Ed Byrne Memorial Justice Grant.
Okay, so to be bundled in the votes are also 4.1, 4.2.
Right,
so
thank
let me
you.
read all of this, and then anyone can speak on any one of these items. Beginning with 3.2.3.1, vote accept expend fiscal year 24 affordable housing earmark. The next one, again, I'm going to read the numbers as well for the public following us out there. 3.2.3.2, vote accept expend fiscal year 24 earmark funds, Shed Park. The next one is 3.2.3.3, vote amend, applied, accept, expend $3,670,000, one stop for growth grants. The next one is 3.2.3.4, vote amending prior order approving CPC recommendation
Mr. Mayor,
to fund a place to live.
I have one.
Kishia?
Yep. So my question is, if a project fails.
If you could hold on, Councilor Kishia, because let me read all the bundle votes first, and then we can go back and speak on individual one if anyone wish. I believe, let me just catch myself again, repeat 3.2.3.4, vote amending prior order approving CPC recommendation to fund a place to live. The next one is 3.2.3.5, vote amending prior order approving CPC recommendation to fund Acre Crossing project. The next one is 3.2.3.6, vote authorize change of voting machines. The next one is 3.2.3.7, vote authorize city manager execute contract with Next Up LLC. And again, just to be clear, the 3.2.3.8 that is being withdrawn. Two more new votes. Give me a second. The new votes are 4.1, vote accept expend $250 Aftermath K9 Grant LPD. Is that correct, Mr. Manager? $250? Okay, I'm used to reading in the millions, so $250. The next vote is 4.2, vote accept expend $42,781, fiscal year 23, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice. Those are a lot, so if you would like to speak on any one of them, please raise your hand and then provide the item line number. Councilor Kishia?
I can't read the line number because it just crosses over, but I'll tell you which one. It was the one with the CPC provision that
Is that the one that has to speak on?
went over for the $70,000, 70,000 plus. So it would be a place to live. CPC recommendation to fund a place to live. So my question to. Okay. Yep. No, that's fine.
Mr. Clerk, please call the registered speaker.
Steve Jonkus.
What item is that? 3.2.3.4?
Yeah, 3.2.
Excuse me. Steve Jonkus, representing Common Ground Development Corporation, 155 Merrimack Street in Lowell. The place to live CPC request goes to the fact that funds were allocated to help our nonprofit organization conduct its due diligence to investigate the feasibility of developing permanent housing for homeless individuals at the West Adams Street site. The project did not go ahead because of constraints related to HUD regulations and the distance of the setback requirements from the railroad that abuts the site in the rear to the actual building. That took 100 feet of the 170 feet, I believe, that we had in depth for that lot, which severely constrained our development program. And there are other issues because of that constraint. The purchase price was such that it also affected the economic feasibility of that project. So this request goes to the fact that we have 452 Broadway Street under agreement, and we're working with the Coalition for a Better Acre to acquire 138 Cross Street. 138 Cross Street would be a total of 9 units. It would add to our existing supportive housing portfolio in that neighborhood where we're providing housings, permanent supportive housing for families who were at risk of being homeless or who became homeless. And that's worked out. I think we've been there for 10 years at this point. And recently we invested about $1.5 million in rehabbing those 3 buildings in order to make them more energy efficient and bring other matters up to code. So the idea is to transfer the remaining balance, which is about $65,000, to that site to accommodate the same due diligence process for 452 Broadway and 138 Cross. And that due diligence process is somewhat complicated. One of the sites was affected by the Muldoon contamination, for example, so we need to go through environmental review. The site also needs to be surveyed, and the architects and the civil engineers also have to come up with a site plan, which would determine the location of the building on the lots and also deal with matters like meeting the zoning requirements and or stormwater management needs, for example. So there's a lot of due diligence work that's associated with 452. 138 Cross Street has been was affected by a fire some number of years ago. The Coalition for a Better Acre owns that building. They began construction, and what you see there is the shell that's been constructed, and there's been some work done on the interior. Not very much, but some. And our goal is to go through the due diligence process so that we can get our permitting, define our costs, and apply to the state agency, which now has a notice of funding availability out that could provide additional funding in order to make that project feasible.
I think. Kathy Mercado? No.
Steve, you all set speaking? You do have that.
I'm the only speaker today.
Okay. Yep. She's not here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't know if the manager knows this or the speaker does, but at the time when the CPC was out looking for applications, were these two properties included in the application portion?
Yes.
At that time, it just got denied?
No, the CPC approved these funding, not this past round, the round before.
I'm talking about this past round, not, so I'm talking about the same time as we gave the money for the other.
Sorry, Councilor. We've been to the CPC committee, and you'll see in your packet that there's a recommendation from them for approval.
I don't remember back that long ago, but again, that's why I'm asking, because I just don't know how we're handpicking these two out of the applicant pool when there could have been others that were in the applicant pool that may not have gotten accepted. So for me, I look at this as one project didn't go on, and now how do we give that to the same person? I honestly think, I don't know if this is something that's legal or not, to be able to just say, okay, you had one project going and it didn't meet what was outlined, so let's do these two projects with the same monies. And that's, it sets a dangerous precedent that we can now just shift money that went to one person over to two other projects that they have. I'm not debating anything. I don't debate anything that you're saying. I don't doubt the purpose of the money, but I'm just debating the process. And I don't think it's fair to the rest of the public or the people who put in for these projects that they didn't get accepted or that their projects were cut down. Like the Greek church wanted more money at this time, and we said we didn't have it. Well, could that have used these funds at that time if they were available? So I just don't think it's a good precedent to set that we're just taking funding midstream and saying, okay, we want to shift it this way or that way. And that's just my opinion. I don't have any problem with the purpose of the money. I just think the process as we go through doesn't meet the test of the original outline of when you had to have these things in by this time. There was a whole timeline to this setup, and now here we are saying, okay, this one failed, but give it to me over here without giving others the opportunity for the same funding if it was available. That's just my thought process to it. And again, it's not against anything anybody's doing. I wouldn't disagree where the money's going, but I just think the process doesn't fit the need. And I don't see anybody here from the CPC, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've read about it, and I spoke to Steve regarding the allocation of the fund that was allocated to the West Adams Street project. To me, it is okay because it served the purpose of creating an affordable housing at the West Adams Street. However, the project was approved but did not move forward for whatever the reason. However, reallocate that same funding to a couple other projects that in the same purpose, creating an affordable housing. So to me, it is the same objective. You achieve the same objective by creating more affordable housing using the fund that was not being utilized by the other project. Thank you.
Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor, do the council have the authority to do so at this time, to move the money from one project to the other?
Mr. Solicitor? Or was it something that you want, you can answer that?
I can.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, the CPC has the ability to recommend, and then the council actually funds it. So The CPC has gone through this, and to much what Councilor Yem was just talking about, they have the ability to claw it back, Mr. Baldwin, or move it to another project that they see that is appropriate. The West Adams Street project was a go until it wasn't, when the federal government stepped in and said you can't have housing for homeless people close to a rail line, as I believe was stated earlier. So the CPC can't allow that to happen. They amended their vote, and then now it's up to the council to either not agree and send it back, or accept their recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, given what the manager just stated, this was recommended by CPC. And this project, whether West Adams Street project or the Cross Street and Broadway project, accomplish the same goal. The idea is to create housing for those who's on the verge of no place to go, or for those who are no place to go. So I see no need to not support it at all at this point. Thank you.
That was Councilor Nguyen. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. So what's the total amount of units that they're looking to develop potentially at the Broadway and Cross Street location?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. On Cross Street, there are 9 3-bedroom units.
There are 6 2-bedroom units and 3 ones.
Correct. Sorry. Because of the fire, they're still in the process, but it's 9 units, and it's going to be a mix. Would that be the appropriate way?
Yes.
Sir? And then on the Broadway piece, we're still looking at, because of the blooming situation on the old Muldoon, there is a piece of land that is under contract currently right now with Common Development, which the city will be looking to put additional housing over there. That is the old council. That's the Muldoon, and then currently right now we have someone parking vehicles on that other site. So there's a lot going on the Broadway Street, I would say, to say the least. There's a lot going on in that block, and what we're looking at is housing, and Common Development is already is under agreement with a particular piece of property that is from a Boston developer, I think, if that's correct.
Thank
I
you.
hope that answer. I can't. It is housing that would be looking to the council for support over there. So I hope that's answering the question. But on Cross Street, it definitely is 9 units.
So the 66.4, the remaining balance is they're looking to use it for pre-development costs associated with these 2 locations. There's no guarantees that these locations are going to go. It's just they're going to use this money for pre-development again.
That's correct. Cross Street will probably go. I mean, it's a structure that is sitting there that there was a fire. It has been under agreement. It was been owned by the Coalition for a Better Acre for a number of years, and Common Development, which is CTI's development arm. Right. They're going to be coming in and doing, I would anticipate, and I don't want to speak for the gentleman, Mr. Jonkus, but I would anticipate Cross Point will be done in due time. And Broadway Street is something that we've been working with DPD, as well as Mr. Jonkus and CTI.
All right, and so, I mean, is this common, though, like with CPC funds, if we approve the funding based on a CPC recommendation? I understand it's going to be housing, that's what we're going to hear, so I'm not pushing back on that. But if we fund a recommendation for a specific project from CPC, and if that project fails, is this how we normally do it, just transfer to other projects, or should that money go back to the coffers for the next people that apply? I mean, because it is a little bit strange where some projects might have been denied, and as a result, now we're shifting the remaining balance to 2 other projects to the same group that received the initial allocation. So, I mean, I don't know, that might be something that we might want to take a look at. I'm not going to oppose this because, again, at the end of the day, there's some reputable groups trying to do the work here, but I think that is something we need to look at moving forward.
Our CPC committee has the ability to do that. Point well taken. Maybe it should go back in and recycle through. But they have the ability to, we're looking for housing, as Councilor Yem had stated, and they're moving it over to another housing piece. So unfortunately, the West Adams could have been a good opportunity. It just ended up not something that could happen. But I could speak with Mr. Bakey on that to find out what the rules are. But it's important for the council to know that CPC recommends, and at any point in time, if this council does not see it's necessary, and this is for today or the future, if the projects are not matching what the council wants, the council can then send it back to CPC as to take a second look, I guess it might be the best way to put it.
Thank you.
That's Councilor Robinson. Councilor Scott?
Thank you. I guess my comment was also around what the rules are. I don't know if that's something that could be addressed perhaps by legal, just as far as do we have a requirement to advertise when we're putting it out there for CPC funds? Is that any issue with the projects that get denied, that we now move this funding over to another one that they didn't have a chance, with their projects? So again, I have no issues at all with the projects itself. I think they're meeting the needs that we're looking for, but I'm just a little worried whether or not we're following, the rules around the CPC funding. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
That's something that we could reach out to Mr. Bakey again, as a former planner and the chairman of the CPC. I would think that he's got these rules and regulations at hand. But that's something, Councilor, I can't answer for you right now, but I have a lot of faith in what they're doing. I believe that Mr. Bakey and the council as a whole would have that ability. We had this brief discussion about moving money, and it's coming back to the same housing as housing coming back. So I can't give you the legal opinion, and I don't know if we would have that, to be honest with you, at the ready tonight.
Yeah. Thank you.
You also, Councilor Scott. Councilor Musia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always healthy to ask questions, and I understand Councilor Gitchia's concern, but I want to weigh in and say that it's too bad we couldn't have had the first development on that particular street, West Adams Street, because there would have been 24 to 30 single occupancies for serving homeless women. But instead it fell through no fault of anybody else's. The federal government has guidelines and rules and everything. It just didn't pan out right. And if by chance this is what came up and we could, get 9 people off the street that lost their home, we got to remember there's a lot of people in this city that are working. They're the working poor. They're one paycheck away from being on the street. This is what this project is going to do, help to keep those people that are ready to go on the street or probably already have, to put them back into housing. And I think this is a good thing. Although it's very healthy to question, I'm very happy to see this project continue. And this is a good track record from Mr. Jonkis here, who has a record of accomplishment, and I'm very proud of him to do this. Thank you.
Councilor Rourke?
Again, yeah, like everybody else, just a procedural question. So after the first property, lack of a better term, failed, we went back to the CPC and asked about these 2 properties, and then that committee sent it to us for approval. All right, thank you.
So,
Mr. Manager?
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The CPC could have, at that time, decided to spend it someplace else. They just chose to spend it with this project. So, well, these, I guess, 2 projects. That's so they took control of the money back. If you would say clawed it back, right? They clawed the money back, and then they looked into what they had available to spend it on, and they chose Cross Street. Excuse me. They chose Cross and Broadway.
Yeah, I don't think anybody argues with that. It's just I think it's what everybody's here is asking is procedure-wise is if I'd be curious if if we get a report on how those awards from last year are progressing. you know, like for example, the windows at City Hall or, you know, the Rowley's Farm purchase and things like that. And then going forward, maybe just an explanation of, you know, if something doesn't happen, how it gets remedied. Thank you.
Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think these are all very good and legitimate questions that have been raised, but ultimately on this, I do trust in the judgment of the Community Preservation Committee to make a decision on this, and based on their recommendation and the information provided to us here tonight, I think this allocation will be a good thing for this community. And I understand the questions that have been raised, you know, about you know, in the interest of fairness, whether it would be more fair, you know, for this money to go back into, you know, say the next cycle of community preservation funding. However, in my view, this money would be much more useful out on the street now, trying to move projects forward, rather than just going back into an account to sit there for the next round of funding. So from what I can read in the judgment of CPC, this is really befitting with what the original project was trying to accomplish. And you know, I think this will move this goal of the Community Preservation Fund of creating more housing in the right direction. So I do intend to support this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kishia?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I don't disagree where the money's going. It's just the process, and that's the thing that I look at, and I personally think our city solicitor should be the one ruling on this, not a board, not CPC. It should be, that's why we have a city solicitor. So in my opinion, he should be the one, it goes through you to the city solicitor, and then they give the ruling on, is this proper? And if it is, okay. I don't have a problem with it. It wasn't an application for this year, and the CPC can do whatever they wish, is what I'm hearing being said with the funding. I'm just not sure that's the way the state sees the guidelines also. That was more or less my question. It had nothing to do with either one of the projects. It was just a procedure that I'm asking, that's all. And I'm with the rest of the council. If they want to pass it, I'm okay with it, but I just want to make sure that procedurally, this is the right use of the funds in the way that they get used. And that's why I refer to our city solicitor and not the CPC who sent it over, that's all. I'll vote yes for it too. I think it's a good project. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think when you look at these and you say, I didn't see these applications this year in February. We're only 5 months away from doing it again. They could have put the money back into their account and then gave it out in February again. That was all that I had to say about it.
It sounds like every councilor has an opportunity to speak on the bundle votes and on this particular vote here on the CPC. Any other comments on any of the other votes? So my understanding is...
There's one other registered speaker on a vote.
Okay.
Mr. Jonkis is on the following vote as well.
Okay, if you finish with CPC, let's, Councilor Gishia.
I do have one more thing to say. The CPC hasn't met since December, so I'm not sure how this got to a letter. That's the question. So if they met in December and they handed out in February, that's the question, is how did this happen then?
Mr. Manager?
Per the vote that was taken, they met on June 15th of this year.
Just for that vote?
To reassess.
Thank you.
To readjust it. A modification vote was approved on June 15th.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. No other comments, no more comments on CPC. Mr. Clerk, the next item that Mr. Jonkis is speaking on, what item number is that?
3.2.3.5.
That is the vote on amending prior order approving CPC recommendation to fund Acre Crossing project. Mr. Jonkis?
So thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, for considering this request. Acre Crossing is a development that includes 32 condominium units for first-time homebuyers. It is supported in order to make it more affordable by Mass Housing's Commonwealth Builder Program. It is providing subsidy to bring the project down to the unit costs, rather, down to the point where individuals and families at 100% or below of area median income can afford to live there. The request comes because the initial vote that was taken limited us to allocating the money to 17 of the units for people at 80% of median income. And because of changes in interest rates, for example, rates were at 3.72% for mortgages when we began this, and the last I looked, they were at 7.88%. So over a 30-year period and 30-year amortization schedule, a $100,000 loan would have an annual payment of $7,902. At the previous interest rate of 3.72, the payment would have been $39.65 rather. So that's a delta of $39.37. So if you multiply that by $300,000, let's say, as a person's mortgage, you can see that it has a significant impact on a person's ability to afford it. In discussing all of this with Mass Housing, they set the parameter at 100% of AMI or below. The buyers are all chosen through a lottery process. So as a result, there's no way that we can guarantee that we can meet the requirement of 80% units going to being allocated for 17 home buyers. So this request is to help make up that, help us deal with the changes that come with real estate construction these days, interest rate risks, labor supply risks, the risks that are associated with still the supply chain, and allocate this so that we can bring families in who are at 100%, still giving people an opportunity to qualify given the other state programs that exist in terms of down payment assistance and lower interest rates, still giving them an opportunity to qualify if they're at less than 100% of median. So the request is to allocate that money evenly amongst the 32 units, which would be $28,828 per unit, have all of the units designated consistent with Mass Housing's deed restriction to people at 100% of AMI or below if we can find families who qualify. And we think that there are benefits to this. One, it improves Acre Crossing's feasibility, again, based on what DHCD or now EOHLC tells us, and along with Mass Housing. It's important for this project to succeed in order to encourage other new affordable home ownership developments in the city. And income diverse buyers will bring more disposable income to neighborhood businesses. So we think there's a good reason to allow this amendment. Appreciate your consideration.
Okay. Councilor Kishia?
Again, we had an agreement in the beginning for affordable housing, so this will make it less affordable. And I don't see anywhere in here where we have a recommendation. I see where it says, whereas pursuant to a vote of the CPC provision, Acre Crossing LLC was awarded $763,200 of CPC funding for the construction of 17 affordable homeownership units for families and individuals earning up to 80% AMI. Acre Crossing LLC has requested a modification to allow the units to be restricted to individuals and families earning that. I don't see anywhere in here where it says that the CPC is recommending doing this. I see that they're pushing forward what someone's asking, but we're making it less affordable for the 17 units. So that's my question to it, as we change all of these, we amend these prior to, when people make agreements and we don't hold them to it, what's going to hold anybody in the future to it? That's the whole question on all these amendments. These shouldn't be slam dunk amendments and come in here and just be like, okay, in February we were okay to this, but here we are in August and there's a change. That's all. To me, I don't have a problem with any of it but it's less affordable than it was when it first came through to this council.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we do have a bundle vote before us. Before I ask for a motion to adopt and a second and roll call, when you do vote for the bundle, if you agree for most of the vote, you can say yes to the vote. And if you want to vote in a negative, you could say no and name the line item vote that you're saying no to. So we can do like a vote for the bundle, just for the interest of time. And if you want to take exception to one or two negative votes, you can specifically say, yes, I vote for the bundle, except for this vote or that vote. I need a motion to adopt the bundle votes by Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor Nguyen. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janess.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any other items that has registered speaker who are present in chamber before we go back to where we left off?
There are registered speakers, Mr. Mayor, but I don't see them present in the chamber.
Okay. I don't think the registered speakers on any items are here, so we can return to where we left off on the agenda, which was the motion response. We left off at the alphabet I motion response, which is on Regional Homeless Summit. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I attended the summit with a couple of my colleagues in the administration, and I think it was informational, and I'm thinking we're going to have to put something together in the near future. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Hearing none, we now go to the next motion response, the alphabet J, Mount Vernon and Cross Street. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. However, the accident report at the location seemed lower than what I witnessed at the corner of Mount Vernon and Cross Street. We live a block away from that intersection, and we witnessed a number of accidents. One of our family members traveled on Mount Vernon and got hit by someone who came out from Cross Street eastbound. And so the number of accidents that was clocked, reported here, that intersection for the past since 2020 for 8 is a bit low for me, but anyway, I trust the engineer and I trust the report. Thank you.
No other comments or questions to that motion response. The next one is the motion response to 25 mile per hour update. The Councilor Janess. Is Councilor Janess still with us?
I'm still here, thank you. Yeah, I look forward to this being, rolled out, and appreciate the update on the time frame. I understand the challenges, and obviously, faster is better in terms of rolling this out, and not with people driving around the city. So, look forward to getting this in place. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this motion response? Councilor Nguyen.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I am happy to see the report. I think this is going to be happening before the school start. I also filed a motion, so my motions 3.2.9.13 will be moved at this time. So I'm going to withdraw that motion.
Give me 1 second here, Councilor Nguyen. Was that the new motion this week or from last week?
From last week, sir.
Okay. Was it 3.2.9.13? Okay. 3.2.9.13, that is withdrawn. Was there another motion? Or was that the only one? Okay. All right, we now go back to where we left off on the motion response, the alphabet L, on Lowell Street. Who was the councillor at Lowell Street? Councillor Scott.
I'm sorry about that. I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Please raise your hand if this motion responses, you want to say some comments on it. The next motion response is on Elmwood Avenue. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you very much. I spoke to a couple of my neighbors so far, and they're looking forward to this. Hopefully this study reveals it was long overdue. Thanks.
No other comments. The next motion response is the alphabet N, West 6 and Coburn Street. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Again, I understand and I appreciate this, but can we at least take a look at maybe speaking to the neighbors at that four-way intersection? Because the neighbors have been the ones that have been pushing and indicating they wouldn't mind LED flashing lights or something, because as we're all aware, that's been a site, there's been, what, 10 over the past 5 years. I know the average isn't super high, but one of them involved a complete rollover with the car resting on its roof. And I mean, daily, the people that live in the corner have shown me video of cars just flying through that four-way intersection. And again, our engineer herself, it says someone identified cars coming through rolling stops. So if we could just take a look at maybe even speaking to the neighbors and seeing what would they be okay with us implementing over there, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, no other comments on that one. The next motion response to alphabet O, right of first refusal. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I think this is something worth taking a look at. I appreciate the work, the preliminary work looking at it. If you wouldn't mind, the recommendation on the report is to just look a little further into it and maybe make some recommendations down the line. Thank you.
Okay, no other. Councillor Murcia.
As well as if we could identify a funding source, I would be interested in that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments on this one? Hearing none. The next motion response to alphabet P, neighborhood walks. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. This pretty much, I know that the managers team is doing their own. This one here, I know we had one scheduled in Centerville recently, but that'll be rescheduled. So I appreciate it's being rolled out and implemented again. Thank you.
The next motion response to alphabet R on Boston Capital Invite. I remind Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand. I know the project. However, I would like someone to from Boston Capital to talk and to explain it to the rest of the council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. On my paper, I don't see Q. Is there a Q on somebody's copy? Does the council have Q somewhere on the paper? Mine goes from P to R, no Q. Does any of the council member have Q on the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, have the proper department by Councilor Robinson. Department provide a report on why we removed the LRTA bus hub downtown.
Oh, that was removed. Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah. See, that was in the report. I appreciate the history on it and why, but is there a way to look at bringing, even if it's a satellite hub, back into the downtown? Because the whole idea behind looking at that was increasing foot traffic, people that are transferring in our downtown, utilizing the public transportation system. I mean, and as I mentioned when I first presented it, growing up in the city, I mean, we all saw it brought disposable income of all kinds into our downtown business district, as well as it kind of spurred liveliness and people moving about, and whether you have 20 minutes waiting for your next bus, you might pop into a local convenience store and grab something to drink and a bag of chips or whatever it may be. But that's why I was looking, and I don't think it really addresses this. I understand the history of why it went away, and they do have their own permanent structure, but is there a way that we could at least reach out for a conversation and see if they'd be willing to maybe a satellite something downtown, if at all possible?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We can, but the history tells me that some of the business owners may have changed, obviously, over the years. But I can speak to Mr. Bradley over the LRTA to find out what can happen, because honestly, it never made much sense to me. In order to get to Centerville, you got to go to the Kennedy Center and then move the other way. So I can speak to Mr. Bradley about that.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. No
Mr.
other
Mayor?
comments? Councilor, is it Councilor Ness? You on Zoom, so I'm
It
going
is.
to recognize you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yes, I appreciate everything that was in that response in the history, and like Councilor Robinson, I would really like to see if there's a way we can work with LRTA to set up some kind of mini hub downtown or some kind of transfer zone. If there's some way that the LRTA can work with us to route most of their trips through the downtown, it might actually make it more convenient for people to be able to transfer versus having to go all the way out to the JFK Plaza, like you mentioned, Mr. Manager. I think having these buses run through the downtown and have it be marketed as, hey, you can get your bus to your final destination in the downtown, is a win. And if we can do that, it's going to increase the foot traffic. And as Councilor Robinson said, even if it's somebody just grabbing a soda and a bag of chips, that adds up and that matters. And just having more people on the street is better, and it gives a better sense of vitality to the downtown. So, whatever we can do to support that and work with LRTA to better foster that, I think it's a win for the city. Thank you.
No other comments on this motion response, and we've taken up the next alphabet already, the R, Boston Capital Invite. Councilor Yam, you all set with that?
I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The next motion response is alphabet S, Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Per DPD recommendations, I will request that we refer this report and further discussions to the Housing Subcommittee pending that the completion of the Law Forward Master Plan and the Housing Production Plan, which they expected to be done in sometime spring 2024. So I would refer that this report and further discussion on this to the Housing Subcommittee pending that report.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Nguyen to refer this to the Housing Subcommittee pending the report. Second by Councilor Yam. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. No other comments on this one. Thank you, Councilor Janess. Because I don't see you on TV while you're not speaking,
Mr. Mayor,
thank you for shouting out when you want to speak.
Could I just quick comment on
Sure,
the
Councilor
motion? It's a great motion. The question I have would be, it looks like it is similar to what we have the CPC. The CPC was created so that 10% of the fund is dealing with affordable housing. How does that work with the new Affordable Housing Trust Fund? So it's kind of overlap each other in a way. So I think we need further discussion maybe at the Housing Subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No other comment. The next motion response is the alphabet T on Farmers Market. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that they've expanded, new location. From what I've gathered, it's working out well. I've been in conversations with a couple community partners that are rolling out similar programming when it comes to food, and they'd love to have a conversation with those already doing it. And I think there is both a demand from the public for these kind of efforts, as well as there's plenty of providers in whether it's produce or other goods. There's plenty of people in the area that are interested in at least sitting down for a conversation to see how do we expand moving forward. So thank you.
Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councilor Robinson. the mayor and I attend the ribbon cutting of the new location along with the CTI, and we did have discussion that eventually the commercial space on the first floor of the parking garage there can be an indoor, and I think it's a great project and moving in the right direction. So I'm hoping that down the road it will be a year-round indoor. And as Councillor Robinson was talking about, this is not just about the produce, but also become like a center where the teaching of culinary arts and also for micro-enterprise businesses who want to start a business, but they don't want to commit all this money in a brick and mortar. They can have a table, a booth, and start it to sell, market their products to see how it works and well received. And so there's so many ways that this indoor farmers market can really energize the economic development downtown and the city of Lowell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No other comments on that one. We'll now go to the next motion response to alphabet U on LRTA bus hub. Who was that Councilor Nguyen? That was Q, so it's mixed up with U and Q. So, so we bound to skip one alphabet, right? So, all right. We'll now go to the final motion response, alphabet V, on marijuana. Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Thank you for the report, Mr. Managers. To date, how many applicants seeking the host agreement for the delivery?
Through Mr. Manager to Giovanni.
Off the top of my head, I don't know how many inquiries we've had, but we have had several companies approach development services regarding the process for it, but we haven't had anybody submit a full formal application yet.
Do we have a cap for it, and how many do we plans to allow?
For courier and delivery services, there was not a cap voted on it, and so it would follow similar to cultivation, where it could be open to however many applicants we get.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments on that last motion response? Hearing none, we now complete all the motion response. We go into the information report, which is in the section 3.2.2.2. We'll start with the informational report on HRC policy changes to HR new hire packet. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. We have Ms. Dominicus here to speak on this as well, if anybody has any questions or thoughts about what is happening here. But the informational is about the Human Rights Campaign, the HRC policy, the changes that we have started. We've contacted HRC. We've been in contact with them over the past probably 4 to 5 months, working very closely with them to make sure that all of the things that we're doing throughout the city as well as the high school is included in our next rating. So really it's an opportunity, councilors, if there's something here that you'd like to further discuss, we should hopefully have some of the answers with for you tonight, if that's something you'd like to discuss.
Any comments or questions? Microphone is
Mr.
on.
Mayor?
Any comments or questions? Councilor Janess?
Thank you. Yes, through you to the city manager and Annabelle, I just wanted to say thank you for taking these steps and making these changes. I look forward to seeing how Lowell does in the next HRC Municipal Quality Index survey. So I think these are the right steps we need to be taken, and we can continue to learn and continue to grow and make things better. So thank you very much for moving this forward.
I just want to say thank you, Council, for that. But Ms. Dominguez and Ms. DeRoches, like I said, have been working on this tirelessly to put this together, and I'm eager to find out where we go with our scoring. So thank you very much to both of the team members for making that happen.
You're welcome.
If there are no other comments or questions from the councilor, I want to thank you, Ms. Dominguez, and congratulations again. The next informational report is on the ARPA Cultural Festival grants. Mr. Manager.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. As everybody knows, the cultural festivals and events that have been playing out throughout this city, there is a pretty extensive list in your packet talking about some of the programming has already been put into place, and it's an opportunity for the council to look at. And I believe that from this perspective, we are hitting the marks that this council has been looking for to ensure that we continue the festival opportunities throughout this city. And I think that, once again, this is another piece that Case has been on top of, as well as Mr. Flynn. I have to say thank you very much to Mr. Flynn and his team. Now that he has his full team, it's a lot easier for our friends over there to get through what can sometimes be a pretty arduous process in what they ask and what we need to make sure that these grants are asking. So thank you very much, Mr. Flynn, to you and your team. Is there any questions by the council?
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say I attended the Puerto Rican Festival over the weekend. Great time. They had good-sized crowds down there. They might have to expand to a larger location, honestly, but it was a great time. The food, the music, the people came out. It was a good celebration, and I'm glad to see that we're utilizing ARPA to kind of enhance what a lot of people have been doing out in the community. And again, I see the kinetic sculpture race is coming up also, so I'm glad to see. And now, we did mention in the past, based on the study we got back, is the city in Case still looking towards potentially doing something in October with the street closure festival type situation that would be put on by the city?
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, as we are looking at that, we're working with DPD as well. We have a number of things going on right now that are still cooking or baking that we're trying to engage the downtown in a different manner. Exactly what the council has been looking for, and I believe the council's been looking for, just to name off a street, Palmer, Middle, Merrimack, to make the downtown a lot more livelier. And I have to credit once again Mr. Crew, the entire folks from Case. Ms. Silk has been a part of that team as well, who is here this evening, Ms. DeRoges. And actually, everybody up here is a discussion that we're really having to find out what can happen. And I'll tell you, when you have these sessions that we've had some very interesting discussions about what we can do, and then we start saying, well, boy, we can't do that because it would cause another issue. But our goal really is to help all of these organizations become more sustainable. Because we know at some point in time in the future, we may not be able to do things like this through ARPA. But the council, I know, has always been very generous in trying to help people. But that's the number one piece that we continue to push back on when people come to us with ideas, is what is your sustainability plan for years 2, 3, 4, 5. So once again, I believe that's what the council has been looking for. But by this October, we're hoping for a lot more activity between now and we don't want to say what the snow flies, but we're going to be moving towards that direction.
Thank you.
So, Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing that I would like to see, we had a 4th of July firework, and we closed Bridge Street, and we noticed that how many foot traffic that people come to downtown. All the restaurants that were open are packed, and even a lot of lines. So my thought is that maybe we have the first night for an event downtown, first night, similar to Boston, that will generating another foot traffic downtown. That will be really something that, part of the thinking process of downtown event that draw traffic and foot traffic to the downtown. Thank you.
Councilor Yam, are you requesting the managers to look into that without a motion, or you want to make that in the form of a motion, or?
It's up to you. If could be a motion, yes, I would do that. ask the manager to look into to create the event, a first night event downtown. So that can be.
Let's see if the manager have a comment on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. Council, that's something we can look into with or without a motion. We'll just make sure that, looking at Ms. Silk right now, to make sure that we have that discussion at our next meeting. We've been meeting with Case on a very, very regular basis. I believe it's twice a month. So that's something that we can look at. It'll be a cost consideration as well in regards to the fireworks. I want to tell you it's approximately, about why I know this, $1,000 a minute. But so we could look at that to see if it's something that we could pull off between now and the end of December.
Okay, so the manager can explore that option. Maybe you can follow up with the.
Right.
Okay.
That's
no
fine,
problem.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Look into it, and then we can maybe have a report back. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. No other comments or questions on that? I want to echo Mr. Manager's gratitude to Brendan and the ARPA team for all the hard work that you do and providing the ARPA fund to all the cultural activities, all these funding to these organizations and festivals. They make Lowell a lot livelier. So thank you for your hard work. The next information report is on cable franchise license ascertainment hearing notice. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through to the council. Council, as we did have a meeting last week prior to, in regards to the cable franchising. Cable franchising, it was well attended. We had some folks from LTC there. We had some people that will be sending in their thoughts about what is happening. We did have one organization apply, and that would be Comcast. So if anybody is interested in reading about the contract, Mr. Clerk, it's still with your organization in the clerk's office currently till what time?
Mr. Clerk?
We have a copy of the contract in my office.
In their office, and if people are still looking to make any type of comment, please feel free to send any comments directly to us in regards to Comcast. So that went well, and we're moving forward. I believe it's October 10th, 2023 is when our license expires, and I believe that we'll be within a reasonable time to make sure that there'll be no interruptions. And if there's any questions by the council, by all means.
Thank you. This is TV and internet and everything?
It'd be cable, Mr. Mayor, through you, sorry about that, to the council. It is cable. So it's typically what we have currently right now. If you have Comcast in your area, nothing would change.
Okay. So the one question, I know you're aware of this too, and it's come up before. The downtown area, specifically places over by Dutton Street that don't have internet, is there anything that they can do for us for that?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through to the council. I know that there's, I don't think there's a secret I can say. There's Verizon. I don't think there's any secrets here. But Verizon, I know, has been dropping lines throughout the area. I do know that they're out on Middlesex Street. I do know that they're in Centerville just the other day. So I know that the competition is coming. But Verizon is not in the position, I don't want to speak for them, but
Sure.
they're not going to be offering cable, offering TV. They're going to be offering DSL. I hope
Yeah, I
I
was
said that
more
correct.
interested in that, so.
Right. They're just going to be offering it so that the troubled areas throughout the city should have Verizon at their doorstep relatively soon. They've been working extremely hard in this area trying to create that bit of competition. But if people are wondering why Comcast was the only provider that bid, it's simply because they're still offering all those bundles of packages of, and I'll say HBO and Cinemax and everything else, where Verizon is just going to streaming. I hope I'm saying that as correct as possible. So competition is on its way, just in a different form. No, the Comcast model doesn't seem to be what people are fighting to get into at this time any longer.
So specifically like the Masonic Temple and Cobblestones in that area, are they going to be able to get can we find out if they're going to be able to get internet?
I will find out, and they have it, it's just not, it's not as good. So
Okay.
I'll find out when the new lines are coming. Like it stated, I know they were on Middlesex Street, Verizon was, and I know that just the other day they were up on Christian Hill, working all last week, and I know they've been in different neighborhoods throughout the city. They will be I'm quite confident Verizon will be contacting you to make that switch.
No other comments on that information report. The next report is on the ARPA ad hoc grant round 1. Mr. Manager.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Flynn, to you and your team. This is an opportunity right now, round 1, that the council will have any opportunity to see the list. I hope the list was sent. You have it set. Thank you very much. Mr. Flynn, if you have anything to add in regards to this financial awards. My apologies, Council, as this should have been on your desk early in the evening. This will be the first round, is that right? Is that correct, Mr. Flynn?
Correct, yes. So this is the, I would say, the first half of the ARPA ad hoc grant series that we started. This represents the first 12 recipients of grant awards, and these were all applications that we received prior to the 25th of April. There is another round that we are currently in the process of reviewing. There's another 9 applicants, and we hope to have some information for the manager, I would say probably just after Labor Day, early September.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Flynn, again. And just for the edification for the folks at home, Lowell Youth Leadership Program was awarded $30,000. The Lowell Festival Foundation was awarded $27,000. Troubled Waters, the Bridge Club, for a bilingual recovery coach was awarded $30,000. Greater Lowell Family YMCA for mental health support, $30,000. Lowell High Junior Athletics Youth Sports was awarded $30,000. The Merrimack Repertoire Theater, $28,000. The Lowell Alliance, which is physical agency of the YWCA, Lowell Diaper Bank was awarded $27,000. The Merrimack Valley Food Bank, Operation Nourish, was awarded $30,000. Refuge Lowell, Lowell Equitable Arts and Education was awarded $30,000. The Elliott Presbyterian Church for the day center that the Elliott runs, $30,000. And Katie's Closet, which I believe we're all familiar with, stabilizing Lowell's families with basic needs, was awarded $30,000. The final number was $352,772. As Mr. Flynn has stated, we will have a round 2 on this, but we think it's important for the council to know this early on, and once again, it'll be probably after that Labor Day timeframe.
Councilor Kishia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do the same people get an opportunity to apply again?
For this particular, through your, Mr. Mayor, to the council, for this particular grant opportunity, this one is closed, but in future grant opportunities, they could reapply for funding, correct?
Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Once again, ladies and councilors, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, the questions that are continuing to be asked is, what is the plan for sustainability in everything that we're doing here? We want to make sure that we're supporting organizations that can sustain well past the days of ARPA. So thank you again, Mr. Flynn.
Any other comments or questions from any councilor? Hearing none, again, Mr. Flynn, great job with the ARPA team. These are great organizations. They do amazing work in the community. With that, I need a motion to accept all the motion responses and the information reports, to accept them and place them on file by Councilor Drinkwater, second by Councilor Mosier. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next line item is 3.2.2.3 on communication. Planning Board recommendation to propose zoning code amendment regarding accessory dwelling units. No action needed. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We already taken the votes already. We're now going to jump to the agenda line item 3.2.4.2, which is the order 60-day trial. City of Lowell in the City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of up to 60 days. Any comments or questions by any of the councilors? Hearing none, need a motion to adopt by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Rourke. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Counsel Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
The next line item is the ordinances from City Manager, 3.2.5.1, ordinance MBTA communities zoning amendments. Any comments or questions on this line item? Hearing none, need a motion to refer to public hearing on August 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Gishia, second by Councilor Nguyen. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. The next line item is the resolutions, 3.2.6.1, resolution support House 3012 and Senate 2027 project labor agreement. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Mr. Clerk. City of Lowell in the City Council resolution. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to go on record in support of House Bill 3012 and Senate Bill 2027, an act authorizing project labor agreement. Any comments or questions on this resolution? Hearing none, need a motion to adopt by Councilor Drinkwater, second by Councilor Rourke. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Counsel Drinkwater.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Janess.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Counsel Robinson.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Scott.
Yes.
Counsel Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 yeas.
On the agendas, next is on the reports of the subcommittee, but there's no subcommittee report for today. We now go to the section or item 3.2.7.1, the wide inspection, National Grid, Verizon New England, request installation of additional pole on Varnum Avenue near Fowle Road. If no other comments or questions, need a motion to accept and adopt accompanying order by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Mercia. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried. The next item is 3.2.7.2, wide inspection, National Grid, Verizon New England, request installation of additional pole on Varnum Avenue near Riverside Avenue. No comment, need a motion to accept and place on, to accept and adopt accompanying order by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Robinson. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried. The next line items are the petition, 3.2.8.1, claims, 3 property damage. No comment, need a motion to refer to Law Department for order and recommendation by Councilor Rourke, second by Councilor Gishia. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried. Line item 3.2.8.2, Tanya Kenny requests installation of handicap parking sign at 800 Broadway Street, Unit 6. No comment. I need a motion by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Janess, he's still with us, to refer to transportation engineer for report and recommendation. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion is carried. We now will take up all the motions, the unfinished business section of the motions from the couple weeks ago. We'll start with motion number 3.2.9.1. I'm not going to read the numbers for the remaining of the motions. The first one is Councilor Yam, request City Manager have the proper department update the council on the status of the use of wireless emergency alerts, second by Councillor Janess. Councillor Yam.
And motion speak for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent, Councillor. Thank you so much. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. The next motion is also by Councillor Yam. Request City Manager have the Property Department look into joining the Massachusetts Broadband Coalition and to apply for funding the state receives through the National Broadband Equity, Access and Deployment Program to extend high-speed internet throughout the city. Second by Councillor Leahy. Councillor Yam.
Motion speak for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Another
Thank you.
great comment. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. The next motion is by Councillor Scott. Request City Manager have transportation engineer look at improvements that can be made to increase safety at the intersection of Moore and Lawrence Street. Second by Councillor Mercier. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion was brought forward to me by several residents that were concerned after the most recent accident that happened at the corner of Moore and Lawrence Street. They're concerned about the sight line, maybe, mostly, when you go to turn out of Moore Street. There's vehicles that park right along the line there, so they'd like that to possibly change. If not, they would like to see whether or not they could incorporate a three-way stop at that intersection. So if we could have the traffic engineer look at that, that would be good. Thank you.
No other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is also by Councillor Scott. Request City Manager implement a plan to enforce all requirements of Chapter 176-2 of the City Housing Standards. Second by Councillor Gishier. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't read the entire document about the housing standards, and it's under permits, inspection, fair housing, but the main issues that I'm finding are under Sections F and Section H. Section F is about having information posted about the owners of rental properties and having that easily accessible. We've had some issues lately. I know on Branch Street. I've had my own issues on Elm Street. And I think it would be really helpful for neighbors to know who to contact when there's issues like that, for them to be clearly posted. Some of the larger rental companies are very good about posting it, but it's definitely lacking in a lot of areas. And then the last section that I'm concerned about is whether or not we are stopping people from getting building permits, rental permits, if they violated the sanitary code, the building codes, the fire codes. And I'm just curious how many of those were actually following up and implementing fines or other actions against. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by any of the councillors? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is also by Councillor Scott. Request City Manager provide update regarding Book Mobile launch into the neighborhood. Second by Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is very exciting. We saw on social media that the bookmobile had shown up quite a while back. And I'm curious whether or not there's a delay in hiring. What the issue is that we have not brought that out into the neighborhoods yet at this time. Thank you.
Councillor Nguyen.
Is a great one. I know that the book mobile is here. I'm not sure if there's any job posting has been out there. I know that the people at the library would love to have that job application out there and getting someone to drive that book mobile as soon as possible before the summer's end. Thank you.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is a joint motion by Councillor Robinson and Councillor Scott. Request City Manager provide an update on policy regarding mayoral portraits. Who would like to go first?
I'd like to make a motion to refer this to the Rules Subcommittee, please.
Motion to refer to the Rules Subcommittee, second by Councillor Scott. Any other comments or questions on this? Councillor Scott?
I'll just add to it a little bit. So this came forward as a recommendation back in April of 2020, and it was not approved at that time by the council. So I'm really just looking to bring it forward, come up with a policy that works for everybody. I know there's been talk possibly about amending what did come forward at that time to include current city councilors' mayoral portraits staying within the rotation. So that's something that could be looked at. But if you could bring us a recommendation, and then we could bring it to the Rules Subcommittee. Thank you.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councilor Robinson, who requests city manager have property department create a public-facing permitted public usage schedule on the city's website. Second by Councilor Junez. Councilor Robinson.
Thanks. This is just to keep everybody informed of what's permitted at any given time throughout the city. It makes it a lot easier for people to see, I think, instead of trying to go and have to track down and search. We've had some discrepancies, so I think putting it public forward, front-facing, everyone can see what should be permitted, and that way there's no rule for excuses. Thanks.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is a motion by Councilor Gishier. Request city manager provide an update regarding releasing of all executive session minutes that no longer warrants confidentiality. Second by Councilor Yam. Councilor Gishier.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I would like to amend my motion to include having the law department look into the possibility of recording all executive session meetings.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Councilor. I have talked to the city solicitor. Well, I think that's the best approach. Now that I can literally get to those minutes after the incident, I'm going to gather them. I'll send them up to the solicitor, and we'll have them prepped, and we'll just call it executive session at the end and bring them in there, and you approve them, and then they're released, you know.
Yeah, I think it helps you also just review your minutes afterwards with a recording, so that's really...
Yeah, I mean, there are some that might be ongoing stuff, but, and probably part of part of my recommendation would be, maybe every 6 months we do it as a matter of course.
Thank you.
Amendment motion, second by Councilor Yam. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councilor Gishier. Request city manager provide the city council with a list of fines issued to the owner of the property located at 6264 Branch Street, who the owner of the property is, the date of the fines, the amount paid, and the amount outstanding, if any. Second by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Gishier.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the manager, you've been there with me almost every weekend. It's a rooming house. It's not anything but a rooming house that is in pretty bad shape. And I just think we have to close the place down. But I think before that, as you recognize with me, there's some services needed for the residents within that building. So if you can just look at it and see what we can do, because kids are stuck in their homes around this neighborhood, which is sad for them more so than the people who are doing this to that neighborhood. If I'm the business owner next door, I'm just like throwing in the towel at this point, because we had it all cleaned up and it's right back to where it was a week and a half later. So we got to do better at some way, somehow, and I hope the council gives the manager the authority to say, you know what, here it is, just do it. Thank you.
No other comments or questions. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councilor Gishier. Request city manager update the city council on the installation of solar panels on the high school. Second by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Gishier.
Mr. Manager, the motion speaks for itself.
It's an excellent comment. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councilor Nguyen. Request city manager have the property department ensure that all water and gas electric manholes are covered with manhole covers. Second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I saw a dozen of the waters and gas, manholes have no covers, and I think it's big enough so that a little child walking with their, caretakers or parent could slip into it and could be injured if you not take care of it. So,
Councilor Murcia.
I don't understand this motion. That make sure that the manhole covers have covers on them. How big are the round circles?
Councilor Murcia, the manhole is, Councilor Gishier was raising his hand. It's big enough. It's not for us. It's for the little child.
I'm thinking of a manhole cover like
no,
this.
No.
I wouldn't made a motion, I would have called the department and said, put a cover on it.
Councilor Goodyear probably can enlighten on that.
He's talking about the gate shut-off covers, so not the manhole. So the gate covers shut off so you can get your foot launched in.
Oh, so a child couldn't fall down that, right?
No.
Okay.
Foot is.
Well, I get
of the
nervous
car.
there hearing that.
Thank you to.
That
thank-
scared me.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor
Okay.
Goodyear, for enlightening us on that.
All right, thanks.
Councillor Scott?
Yeah, I would just say that a lot of them right now are just, there's potholes all around them, all over the place. So if that's something that we can look at. Thank you.
Councillor Yam?
It a little bit different. My comment regarding we have, for example, the stop sign, and it broke off, and the metal that holding the sign is stick out from the ground, and that's really dangerous. Someone could trip or fall on it, and it hurts. So it's not the same, but that's part of this ongoing. The sign got knocked off, and there's a portion of the metal that hold the sign still stick up on the sidewalk. So if we can somehow make sure that it's taken care of before the city got sued. Thank you.
No other comments? All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. The next motion is by Councillor Nguyen. Request city manager identify who is responsible for sidewalk maintenance along Princeton Boulevard. The sidewalk is currently so overgrown, the pavement cannot be seen. Second by Councillor Goodyear. Councillor Nguyen.
The motion speak for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. We already taken up motion 3.2.9.13. The next motion is also by Councillor Nguyen. Request city manager provide an update on plans to repair potholes in the city, especially in the Highlands neighborhood. Second by Councillor Scott. Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I filed the motion, some of the street has not been repaired, and since I know that Sheldon has been repaired, I know that Roger has been repaired, and I don't know of other if it has been repaired. But there's a number of streets that we need to take care of the pothole really, because it's getting bigger and bigger. So it's our job to do that.
Councillor Goodyear.
Are we on the speed limit or the potholes?
Mr. Manager.
Did we already do the speed limit one? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Councillor Leahy.
Sure. I think Councilor Noon said Sheldon Street, maybe?
That's correct, Councilor Leahy. Sheldon has been fixed. I saw that today.
I went by there today, though, and it looked like it was a mess
Right,
from the rain.
Councilor Leahy, right by the market, Councilor Leahy?
Yeah, it's a mess. There's all gravel down at the bottom of the road and holes
That's
along
right.
the side of the parking lot, so that, I don't think they fixed that yet, did they?
I saw it today that they have fixed that, so.
All right, if we could just double check. I don't know what time I went by there, but it was a mess from the rainstorms. There was a lot of gravel down on Chelmsford Street. Thank
No other comments? All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. The next motion is by Councillor Nguyen. Request city manager provide an update on the 311 system, how it will function, and what will the online component look like. Second by Councillor Yam. Councillor Nguyen.
The motion speak for itself, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. The next motion is Councillor Nguyen. Request city manager work with law department to provide the city council with a report on costs incurred by the city through court judgments and settlements, include breakdowns by department associated with settlements. Second by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Nguyen.
Again, Mr. Mayor, the motion speak for itself.
Excellent. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion, Councillor Mosier, request city manager have proper department instruct contractors to address drainage issues
that parked on Havilah Street created damage to the street. So I would like to have the company restore the street to the good condition it was before they took over the area, Havilah to in the area to Andover Street. Thank you.
Councilor Gishia.
Through you to Manager Golden. Manager Golden, these contractors are supposed to have staging areas. They're staging right at the line in front of a resident's home where you can't even see the road anymore, and it's been like that for a year, she told me. They should have staging areas, and if they're doing this to city roads, they should be held accountable. It's in, every one of their contracts that staging areas for equipment is the responsibility of the contractor, whether it's a state or not, if they're moving in. So there should be some type of cost back to the city that we can get back.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Thank you. Could we just get an update too? I think the only thing left down there is the final paving and then repairs to the side roads. So if we could just get an update. Thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
We do have the company's post a performance bond, don't we? Yeah, well.
Any other comments or questions by anyone? Hearing none, all in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by myself. Request city manager have property department explore and implement speed calming measures on Stephen Street. Second by Councilor Gishia. I have no comments on this one. Councilor Gishia.
Through you to Manager Golden. Since we have applied the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I know Stephen Street's already a road that already had a traffic study, so it's not 25, but Andover has a program where you can come to the town hall and they'll give you a sign to put in your yard, like a political sign that says 25 miles an hour in the neighborhoods. Maybe we can look into a program like that where we can give out the signs that just stake in yards and say 25 miles an hour, and residents who want those can pick them up at City Hall and put them in their yard.
Any other comments or questions by any council member? Thank you for your comment, Councilor Gishia. The residents that brought this up to me is not so much about the speed limit or the posting of speed limit. They're concerned about the vehicles speeding, and with those vehicles speeding at high speed, the intention is to break the speed limit anyway, whether you post the speed limit 30 or 25. It does not affect their driving habit or the intention. Asking more to look for different ways, councilors mentioned before, like speed humps, different ways to prevent, I would say, lack of a better word, from them trying to race down the street on Stephen Street. No other comments or questions. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carried. That completes the motions from the continuing meeting. The next line items that we are jumping to are the orders from the city manager. 5.1, order of 60-day trial, waive full reading and second reading by title. Mr. Clerk. City floor in City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6, thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period up to 60 days. Any comments or questions by any of the council? No comments or questions. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Giccia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes, sorry about that.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia. Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
11 years.
We're now reaching Section 6. These are the new City Council motions. Right? And the numbers are a lot easier. The numbers are a lot easier. There's no not too many decimals between the digits. So we'll start with 6.1. Councilor Murcia requests city manager start the process sooner to alleviate the flooding on the Windward Street area of the city as it is expanding to more homes. Second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason I made this motion is because I don't know what it is, but we're having more rain than usual this year, and with more rain comes more flooding. So on Wynwood and Douglas Road, there's a big area there where the flooding is taking place. But where I never heard from these other neighbors, it seems the water is going up to more homes. The flooding is encompassing a wider area to the point where new people are now calling me, and they're very upset because sewerage is coming out, flooding on their property, toilet paper, all kind of stuff. So I know that we've had problems for many, many years. I know that we're going into 2024 with refurbishing that and putting a catch basin near Colley Stadium in that area there. And I'm wondering if there's any hope that we could move this project sooner than rather later. That's the gist of this motion, is to see if we can do something sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. And also with this motion, next Tuesday at the Riley School, anybody in the neighborhood, specifically on those streets, or anybody over there having issues, Councilor Mercy and myself and Councilor Drinkwater will be having a neighborhood meeting. We'll have city officials there to explain what the project is, and we'll take all suggestions, comments, anything we can do to alleviate some of the problems that are happening right now. So that's next Tuesday. Thank you. 6:30 at the Riley.
Or 6:30, yeah.
No other comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is 6.2. Councilor Murcia requests city manager have proper department put a table of organization from all city departments on the city's website with the names of all present department heads so that residents will know who to contact. Second by Councilor Janess. Councilor Murcia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to desperately say the motion speaks for itself, and it kind of does, because I talked to a few people in MIS to see if they could help me with this. I know if you have looked at the budget and you see the different departments in the table of organization as to people want to know who to call, and so they might not want to go to the top. Like, let's say wastewater, and you get Aaron Fox. So then you probably want the second in command or whatever. You know that person's name now. So I did explain that to Maran Fernandez, and he understands. I just like it on the website. This isn't my request. This is at the request of a neighborhood meeting that were people in Pawtucketville, and they asked, gee, what about who do we contact? And I said, well, there's such a thing as a table of organization. They said that would be perfect if we could get that on the website to look at that. Thank you.
No other comments. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next motion is by Councilor Scott. Request city manager provide the legal requirements for succession when filing a vacant elected office. Second by Councilor Yam. Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I made this motion because I know that we have some unopposed races right now, and it's really a housekeeping piece, really, for us to clear up that we haven't addressed since the last election, the election changes. My understanding of the law is that residents get a say in who they elect. And I think that the law states that prior to the last 6 months in term, that there is supposed to be a special election. That's my understanding. I'm not an election expert, that's for sure, or a legal expert, so I'm really just looking, we do have an election expert, for his opinion on what we should be doing. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is an excellent motion, because I thought it was a special election, too. And what do you do now with someone that's running unopposed? So who do you go to when there's no second one in charge in line of secession? But you also didn't have that set in stone or clarified in the last election either. You did not. So I guess they just assumed the next person in line took the seat. And I thought that was kind of strange. So that's a very, very good motion. Thank you.
Councilor Robinson?
Mr. Mayor?
Can I make a referral to send this to election subcommittee, please?
A motion by Councilor Robinson to send it to the election subcommittee, second by Councilor Gishia. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Councilor Janess, I heard your voice earlier. Did you want to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note that there is in fact a special act that has been filed. It was filed in the previous session. It expired. It was refiled. It's H.3721. It had a public hearing in June. I'm not entirely sure what the next steps are, but this proposed special act would define a succession criteria for the city of Lowell. So people may want to take a look at that and you know, just have that in their mind as these discussions move forward. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilor Gishia?
I thought the charter outlines it right now under section 48. So there is in the charter, if there's no other area, the charter outlines saying that a vacancy will be filled by a city council vote. That's what the charter says under that. But I'd be interested in seeing how this gets ruled by the city solicitor.
No other comments or questions? All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. The next, and I believe this is the last motion tonight, is 6.4. Councilor Gishia requests city manager invite the House of Hope to present information to the city council with respect to services provided within the city of Lowell, second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Gishia?
I'm going to leave tonight on a positive note, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself.
Excellent comment. Yeah. No other comments? All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Believe it or not, we have some time to spare before 10 o'clock. Any announcements? No announcements either. Need a motion to adjourn by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Robinson. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a wonderful night.
Good job.
That day will come.